up here from Dylan Shepherd. He will look to the likes of, the men out in the attacking areas in Ethan Andrews to try and make things happen. Kunyendi as well. He will expect Kabelo Mkhize and the likes thereof to also get stuck into the 50-50 challenges and any of the tackles that will be laid out there.
Yeah, I was saying, Dylan Shepherd obviously has mentioned to his players that they need to use that skill factor to run at these bigger guys because they are not as agile as you'd like. Obviously the center of gravity is lower.
So for Vladimir Romanov, he'll most likely want his players to try it in the air every now and then. For men such as Kirill Folma out in the attack, one man who was terribly impressive, of course, in that first game for the Russians was out in the attack in the name of Laptev. He contributed a lot in the creative department in the destruction of the School of India. So, Mureki Lekwape, the man in charge of this fixture, a 29-year-old from Johannesburg originally. His first assistant is another from Johannesburg, in Oscar Totesi, 33 years of age. He is the oldest of the officials here. This match day 3, Jordy Davison, a 19-year-old. So we're developing teenagers in the way of the refereeing team as well. Fourth official is Abraham Mashala, 22 years of age.
Yeah, well, I think Jordy should be playing instead of refereeing, but it's always good to have them starting young and honing their skills because we need young, dynamic referees to come through and do officiate these matches.
So these are the two sides that have scored the most in a single match each so far in this tournament. A tournament with the likes of Club Rouge, Club Tijuana, Atletico Madrid, Mamelodi Sundowns. These guys scored a whopping 35 goals when you split it down the middle, when they share the load, of course, in what was put past the School of India. 15 for Moscow, 20 for Bidvest Vitz. School of India taking lashings just about every time they step onto the field. The question is, will these two sides continue in those scoring ways against much tougher opposition?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's going to be much closer. We know the School of India was made up of a young team, and most of them are not really footballers. They're aspirant footballers that come from a school that were brought down to play this prestigious tournament.
Well, Bidvest Vitz attacking to the left of your picture, looking to get onto the front foot immediately in a chance to maybe get the early testing of Eleferenko. We mentioned this point on the opening day, but it's worth touching on again. For those of you that may not have been with us, for Spartak Moscow, Farouk, 6 of their lads in the squad have already signed senior team contracts. So that says a lot. These are the last of their days, the twilight of their youth careers, so to speak, before they move on to the professional scene.
Well, that's quite interesting. Myself and Sam Bata, we started a School of Excellence in 1993 when it opened, 94. We're speaking about Dylan because Dylan was one of the first players that came to me as a striker. I converted him to a left back in those days in 1994. And now he's gone on to be a player's coach as well.
Now, here's a chance for Spartak Moscow, pushing forward and hoping to get the shot that eventually does come in then, and it's the opening goal with a minute gone by. It's a stunning start for Spartak Moscow, a shocking start for Bidvest Vitz, the best possible start for any neutral watching on.
Well, we hardly caught our breath there, and brilliant shot taken there from Mark Itisov. I mean, unbelievable shot. Ball was running loose for him, and look, he looks up, side foots it. Look at the quality of that goal. He side foots it, he passes it into the net, doesn't go for power, and really an excellent take and go there by Vladimir Laptev.
Got that caption wrong. The goal scorer, you were right at the first time of asking. Farouk is Dmitry Markitesov with the number 10 on his back. He stroked it beautifully into the back of the net. The technique then was exactly what was needed at that time in exploiting a perfect space the keeper had no chance of getting onto the end of.
Absolutely, his reaction time was minimal, and he didn't think twice. You know, he realized there was a shot on and he took it. I thought for a moment I want to get my eyes tested there because I saw number 10 scoring. And when I saw the caption, I saw Twinties. Okay, maybe I didn't get it right.
I was thinking maybe it's time for a new pair of glasses then, but I can assure you are on the money in your observations. Now, that was created quite nicely by Akitov with the number 22 on his back, in how he kept his cool and looked to turn at defense, play with his back to goal and bringing others into it. They might be big lads, these young Spartak Moscow players, but they are comfortable with the ball at their feet. They are highly intelligent. You'll observe as this game goes on, and they've got problems. Nice movement, and the shot in, calling for a good save from Eleferenko. Positive that from Bidvest Vitz, who aren't to be denied themselves. 3 minutes, 2 goals, 1-1.
Fantastic
We're
goal.
off to a flyer.
Fantastic goals. The reaction again there, the Bidvest, but the keeper made a great save initially, but instead of clearing the ball into the goal line, the defender there tried to pass the ball, but here you see it. He strikes the ball well, and look at this here. Instead of clearing the ball, he passes it back. Keeper tries to pass it out, and there we see great anticipation there. Wonderfully taken goal.
Well, he had the original shot, did Dean Human, and that confusion defensively, only saw it roll kindly to him, and in that sort of range, a player who was part of that group that reached the final last year has Bidvest Vitz right back in the fight. And what a fight it's turning out to be. They're starting out toe-to-toe and blow-to-blow.
Yeah, toe-to-toe, and we spoke about those characteristics, the speed factor which they're using. And as you pointed out, these Russian boys are no slouches on the ball, technically very effective, and they use effective technique. It's not the glitz and glamour, it's effective technique, and that's where Vitz need to be careful.
If you're just joining us, 4 minutes into this match, yes, your eyes aren't deceiving you. You, like Farouk, have no problem with your eyesight, and yes, 1-1. Once again, your eyes are very much on the point in as far as observing the numbers we are showing you, but time now to enjoy the football these young lads have on display. Moscow opened the scoring after a minute, but a couple of minutes later, Bidvest Vitz had found the equalizer. Looking for the advantage, nice little touch out on their far side. Unlucky for Kunyedi to have run out of space.
Yeah, Kunyedi ran out of space, tried to play the ball just around the player there. But you know, we were sitting down just before that second goal. And after that goal, we stood up because, you know, this game has really started like a house on fire. Real exciting stuff.
This game has started moving at 220 kilometers an hour. They didn't warm up at all. They just started it off at this sort of rate, looking to exploit each other's weaknesses. Lovely skill, beautifully done then. Graceful as you like from Grillformer then. In dancing around a few, he was unlucky not to have been able to beat the very last defender he came up against. But, well, that skill is there on show, and that's a attempt at a handball, but we spoke of the ability with the ball at their feet, yeah?
Yeah, well, we spoke about effective skill, and that's a good example of effective skill. He used that turn not to showboat, but to beat an opponent, and he beat 2 of them.
The pace is the problem. It's a big problem in the attacking areas for that Spartak Moscow defense. Then he was moving at pace and troubling his opponents was Magola.
Yeah, we did speak about Dylan early on, and you know, he comes from the School of Excellence where we played with this high tempo. We always encourage the youngsters to use the ball effectively with speed and skill, and that combination is very difficult to defend against, as we see the Russian team, Spartak here, finding the going tough when Vitz is running at them.
Well, many of you will remember that opening day for Bidvest Vitz up against Torino, a side that had gotten as far as winning this tournament a few years ago. We mentioned Bidvest Vitz had gotten as far as the final. We already were looking forward to a good day on that opening day once you saw on the fixture list the Italian outfit in Torino. And Bidvest Vitz came from behind to win that by 2-1. They made a statement there, did Vitz, as they did against the School of India. Now, Moscow again got off to a flyer, but the goals have come quickly in this match. They hadn't even felt each other out at that point. It's almost as though it was a boxing match with 2 fighters knocking each other out to the first round and still getting up to carry on. And lost the distance.
Very pragmatic approach from the Spartak team. They win possession, they play it forward, they lay it back, and they look for the third man runs, which is quite the style of play that we see in Europe. You know, players don't really play sideways, they play the ball forwards, and they play off that wall passes that we've seen Spartak do so well.
Foul in for the challenge on Gauteng Kise. Mitroga with the 7 on his back then. Rather that amongst those that look to create and was very much a part of the creative department for this Spartak team in the opening match. There's a pace. It's once again required for Mark Bilev to go for safety first, but they are looking to ping it in behind for Makola to run onto with the 12 on his back.
Yeah, they are, but the surface is very, very hard, and sometimes the ball just bounces, you know, out of play. If you look at this surface, it doesn't hold the ball up much.
Well, there's the shot that has been set up. It'll be good work to keep it alive on this near side. It had not been for the far side officials' flag going up. And for those that are watching this tournament for the first time, I remind you that it is artificial grass that they are playing for, so the reaction with the ball, the bounce, the surface in these weather conditions won't quite as what we used to on grass.
Yeah, the grass seems to give it a bit of a more cushion, you know, when the ball bounces. But on this surface, there's no cushion. It just bounces, and it get used to it.
Nicely done out on that far side. The little touch to get them going from Mitroga. Pulling the strings is the man with the 7 in his back. He really is just piecing it all together in the opposition half of the field in the creative department.
Yeah, if you look at them, it's exactly the way Gavin Hunt sets his team up. You know, very forward-thinking. You know, not that he's playing a percentage football, but he's playing progressive football.
Played themselves into trouble here. Sorry to interrupt you, Farouk. And good closing down right from the front to win it back in a great area. And, well, the aerial ball in that box is comfortably dealt with by Bidvest. Good movement. Nice little reverse pass then to create the shot from a difficult angle. In the end, he was denied. It was young Marty Tesov, but they really do combine well with their passing, observations, and the movement as well.
Yeah, look there. Once again, they use that ball effectively. They bring it wide, and you'll always have a player making a forward run, and he's found in space. Those little dinks into space is really effective.
Lovely skill in eliminating the man, looking for one of the 3 towards that far post. They've hung it up there again, although they got their angles wrong this time. They do look full of ideas and menacing around that, well, inside that attacking third, but they also look calm.
Yeah, they look calm and composed, and I was mentioning early on when Kevin sets up his first team, you can see whenever a player has a ball is looking to play forward and play off that instead of going sideways and then allowing the opposition to press you and win back possession. So this clearly is an example of Spartak team. Whenever they win the ball, they're forward thinking.
Bit of space to exploit in midfield and then trying to break up the right back and central defender with the ball in behind there. No way through. Kise under pressure. Stand on to keep it moving in with Keegan Allen on the far side.
The other thing you must notice is look at the lines. They were quite perfect. You look at 4 at the back, you look at 4 plus the 1 coming back. So from a structural and organizational point of view, Spartak Moscow have set them up brilliantly. That's also a well-coached team. You can see the structure in the way Dylan has set up his team. So both of these teams are going to show a lot of impetus. It's just going to be those small moments that are going to decide the outcome.
Set piece to be taken by Mitroga. This will be a real test for Bidvest Vitz. Again, it's comfortably dealt with. The ball in the air, there's space to exploit here, and Team Human is looking to quickly find the gaps in that defense. Maybe the much easier option will have been out wide, but as you pointed out, as Kevin Hunt would like it with his Bidvest senior side, the intention was to find the forward pass first, which at times is the more difficult pass to find.
It's difficult but very effective. And once you get that ball forward, it's just the goalkeeper and his goal. So yeah, sometimes you go wide when it's congested, but in that instance, possibly he wanted to go the direct route.
No, understandable why he went the central route. He was able to split those two defenders. It's a sight on goal, clear sight on goal with one pass. So the pass was on, it was just well read defensively.
Yeah, it's a very good game to watch from a tactical perspective. You could argue that with good ball retention, with individual brilliance, you can break it down, and I don't disagree. But really a tactical discipline performance from both of these teams.
In short, it would have been hard to find fault in that, even though it didn't work out for them. Flick on. From the near post then. It will be encouraging for Bidvest Vitz to see their lads winning flick-ons on the near post, considering their challenges in the height department. That's a lovely pass, but good movement, but well read by the goalkeeper.
Yeah, but look at the run as well, Sizwe. He's run from a wide position, but he's cutting inside. He's expecting that ball to be played.
On a few occasions, they've played themselves into trouble and they've held on for one or two extra touches. On that occasion, we saw Matebo struggling and having the ball muscled off of him.
Yeah, look, they're obviously trying to use the skill factor to overcome that pressure. But as you pointed out, a lot of these boys are on the brink of playing professional football, so they deal with these situations very effectively.
Also, what I have been impressed with this Spartak Moscow side is the number of times they've been able to win it just outside of that final third, just from pressing right up from the front. They almost entice Bidvest Vitz into thinking they're in space defensively to pass it about and creep up on them to win it back. First half of the opening 30 minutes just about gone by. Creative in the attempt to lift it over the top then. Unfortunate that it didn't work out then for Vladimir Laptev.
Laptev is a strong player, but technically struggles a little bit with the ball at his feet, and he's lost quite a bit of possession in that third, but I suppose they use him more as a target man.
Again, living very dangerously trying to play it out from the back. He dissected two players with that pass, but although it was successful in finding the teammate, they were inches from getting onto the end of it, the men in red. Again, they are closing down right from the front, and pressure for the man on the ball, meaning by the time it gets to you, you need to know where it's going. Space to turn here for Proslav. Hasn't committed as well in giving away the goal kick, but the coach will love the commitment and the defending right from the front after having lost it.
Excuse me, my apologies. It's not Laptev, it's Proslakov. He's the guy that is more of a target man, holds the ball up. Not very technical. I think Laptev is the one who comes from deep positions. He's more of the creative player.
Scored 5 goals in that game against the School of India, Proslakov. First half hat-trick inside, I think, 20 minutes or so.
Well, since we're looking at that team, I probably think they're there for the taking. Any team could score. You could score maybe, I think, if you look at the two games, 35 goals, it says a story, it tells a story. Yeah, really not ready for this level of football.
Have to wonder though, when you look at these two sets of youngsters, especially when you're a young man, it's something, well, I guess we all tend to do as young sportsmen and so on, in trying to gauge what your opponents are like, especially when you know very little about them, and that you look at a result they played against a team you may have played against, to say, listen, they only beat them 15, we put 20 past them.
Yeah.
That should give us some comfort.
Yeah, I suppose if you look at it that way, but every game is different.
Yeah.
And I think this game here has proven 2 early goals, and for 17 or 15 minutes, we haven't seen too much after that on goal-scoring opportunities. So they've sort of adapted and adjusted to each other, and they're cancelling out certain moves. But, you know, this game is going to probably get a couple more goals.
Approaching the last 10. It's a match that had an explosive start. I mentioned 2 boxers earlier on that knocked each other out in the first round and gone to have an even fight going on for the last 12 or last 10 rounds, maybe I should say. But the thing about that is that you tend to respect each other nice and early when you knock each other down so quickly.
Yeah, that early punch, and the referee had to give a standing count, and they got up, and now they're busy trying to get that knockout blow.
Thought that of the Thurman Garcia fight most recently out in the States. You had 2 talented fighters. I don't think either of them had lost a bout, and first round they both went at it. They didn't knock each other down, but for the rest of the fight they were both very conservative, having hurt each other.
Yeah, I think, you know, you're scared when you see the power.
Good skill. Looking for the teammate, hoping someone's arriving on the blind side, out on the far side. Nice work to keep it alive. Looking for that byline again, and gone across the face of Cole. Unlucky then for this Moscow side. It's Laptev with a 20 in his back, who had done so well.
Yeah, he's the skillful one. He's going to be watched.
Hey, back up! Yes, risque up, bro! Robert, you need to push onto the ball better. You're backing off. Don't! Push forward. Onto the ball.
Can you hear one of the Bidvest Vitz technical team members dishing out instructions, clear instructions to his lads? You need to put pressure on the ball better.
Yeah, you can't allow them to keep the ball and circulate it, because they're so dangerous in that attacking turn.
Physically, one can easily spot the difference in just the physical upbringing of both these lads in the way of time spent in the gym. Yes, there's the factors one can do very little about in height and things of that nature. Good movement on the far side, and wow, lovely skill, looking for the penalty. The referee's got a lovely view on that. He's got the best view in the house, and he says nothing wrong with that challenge.
Great refereeing there. He saw the fact that I think it was our right-sided attacker there, is it Kanyedi, going down very easily, and well positioned to say no, that's definitely not a penalty.
Sazonov with the defensive play here. I thought good call until Sazonov himself takes 2 steps and then tumbles over. That's not a 2-under at that point. The pace certainly working in favor of this Bidvest Vitz side. Yes, we were just a moment ago discussing the advantages depending on your geographical origins, which of course favors the Russians, but the pace we saw on the far side from Bidvest Vitz, a bit of a problem, and on the near side in the run from Andrew.
Yeah, look, we're gonna definitely be at an advantage when it comes to the speed and skill, but not forgetting the Russians. When it comes to physicality, they are leaders in physical training. If you go back to the time of the Soviets, they were leaders. Of course, we know there was a use of steroids, but there's a book I read called Secrets of Soviet Training. We talk about plyometrics. They were the first people to invent plyometrics, which is explosive jumps, which today is used widely in all codes of sport. So yeah, they definitely no slouches when it comes to physical development.
Also, very interesting that looking at which sports they excel in, when one takes into consideration the Olympic Games, where it's an all-rounded look at any sporting nation in the balance thereof, and all the Russians you'll find in even on the track and fields, the sports that involve strength and size, the discus, javelin, weightlifting as well. They're involved in those sorts of sports that, again, need the geographical, physical gifts, as well as the need to excel in strength.
Well, science has played a huge and major role in developing these athletes.
Lovely skill, beautifully done in the advance from Laptev, the pass. Lucky, he's unfortunately forced Proshlyakov out wide on the far side, but the approach play was well, a thing to marvel at for a good hot minute.
Yeah, the pass was just overcooked there, and you know, it was one of those passes where the goal line won the race.
Glad to hear you mention the word scientists when we spoke of the physical work put into the sporting side from a Russian point of view. I say this because at the end of last year I saw something quite unbelievable, Farouk, from a president of any country in the world. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, basically spends a couple of hours or a few hours inviting members of the media to ask any question, and he will answer it honestly with no script, no auto cue, and so on and so on. The reason I mention that is, of course, when discussing the country and how things were moving along in its advancement, one thing he did touch on, and I found that interesting, was Russia's scientists and how he felt they had the best scientists in the world that contributed in all spheres, from military to sporting. So they certainly do mix that part of evolution and education with this part, the enjoyment part, the sporting part.
Well, definitely, you know, I had a professor at Vitz, Melsef, he's late now. He went to Russia on a number of occasions to learn from them from a scientific perspective. They were leaders in all of these modernistic scientific aspects of sport, whether it be athletics, swimming, whatever. And yeah, those scientists, they put a lot of emphasis, and also their budget. I mean, a huge part of their budget was spent on sport and military.
You also mentioned that, the Russian president, and that had me thinking, if a president of a country can take as long as that particular process takes per day, or that day in a year, to have members of the media from different parts of the world coming through and asking on any subject, and he's to answer with insight and in as in-depth a matter as possible. How long do you think until we have a president of a football association do so? Maybe a FIFA or a SAFA?
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen in the near future. I think it's a bit more reserved in the way they operate.
Now, with each of the teams that is out here at the 2017 Gauteng Future Champs, they have been adopted by a school in the area. So you will notice there'll be school uniform going right through to the end of the tournament, where various schools will have adopted the various teams that have come from different parts of the world, and it's all about a cultural exchange program that takes place. There's an off day tomorrow. Well, they'll be out to the Apartheid Museum, some of the lads, well, all of the lads collectively, and move around all the cultural sites in Johannesburg to end in song and dance at the end of the evening at a nice gala dinner. Nice experience for all of the lads to mix and interact away from the soccer fields.
Yeah, it's always fantastic when you come to a beautiful country like South Africa. It's no use just coming to Nike Stadium and back to the hotel, although that is what has to happen for the short period of time. But it's nice to see the organizers allowing the lads one day out to see some of our beautiful places, both in Soweto, obviously in Joburg as well.
Of course, what is always interesting after the mandatory off day that comes with each tournament every year is the day after that off day, when you hear of the different stories. And one thing we'll miss is the South Americans, with the stories that will come out of that day, of the beating of the drums and the dancing and so on, and how they always seem to, year after year, put a little extra into that part of the day. Song and dance,
Well, you know, if you look at their culture and ours, there's a big similarity. I studied my coaching in Brazil, and if I had to just keep my mouth closed, you and I could walk through the street and we'd be probably mistaken for Brazilians.
We'd be at home.
We'd be at home.
4-2 and 7 for 17. Check. Thank you.
Literally 2.5 minutes remaining in the first half, and Farouk Khan, I'd love your opinion on this. Bidvest Vitz about to make 2 changes.
Yeah, I think the coach wants to make changes early on. He doesn't want to leave it too late. You know, we just played 30 minutes each way, and he sees it fit. He wants to win this game, and he realizes that if he doesn't strike first, Spartak must calculate.
Mitroga with the ball forwards. Well defended by Andrews. Now the follow-up shot is still going.
Yeah, that shot there, clearly, he got underneath it a bit. And to say the least, underneath it a bit. I think it went to the top of the building there. Struck it not very accurately.
So, Keegan Allen is amongst the men that will be making way here. One of the changes, a defensive one. The other in the men that are making way is Llewellyn Brummer, wearing the number 17 in his back. Didn't look too impressed at his number coming up so close to half-time. And chip won't trouble Donzela. Chip from Mitroga again, looking to continue to pull the strings. The man with the 7 in his back. Now, substituting a youngster in the first half, Farouk, mentally, emotionally, how does one deal with that for men in your positions who have to make such decisions?
It's always difficult, you know, but you got to teach the youngsters that it's not about the me, it's about the we. And he has to deal with it, because at any time in his career, it's going to happen. You know, at any level of football, he's going to find himself. I've seen coaches substitute a guy after 10 minutes. It's happened.
Or a guy comes on as a substitute, rather, I should say, only to be substituted again a few minutes later if he's way off the mark tactically. Now, shots invited from range.
Well, that's a difficult one. When you come on and you substitute, really, it dents your ego big time, because, I mean, nobody wants to be resubstituted.
Cross looked not only overcooked but lacked in menace, as they made something of it nonetheless to Bidvest Vitz. Nice on the turn and shot then, but the cross initially looked disappointing, as though it caught too much air, going up in a looping type fashion in the initial ball. This one here from Agola.
Not the best of crosses, but you look at this situation here and you see Kanyedi doing ever so well, getting into a good situation, and very unfortunate not to have, you know, struck that ball on target and got the second one for Vitz.
So I hear you on the player being substituted after having come on as a substitute. I remember our days as youngsters, we'd make fun of you if you came in the last 2 minutes at the 87th minute and the game's about to end and you don't touch the ball, and that's just kids and boys being boys. Half time, if you are to be substituted 2 minutes before half time, some parents, especially, I say parents because we're dealing with youth football here, may find that as a little bit cruel.
Extremely cruel, and you get a lot of complaints from them to an extent, but why are you doing this to my child? And you've got to be very sensitive to that, but at the same time, if a kid is not performing, what does the coach do?
Also, it does toughen you up somewhat, not to look at life as a victim all the time. As a youngster, you learn that lesson early. It's not all about you, and life is not all to your comfort. Sometimes you sacrifice for the greater good. Now, it's Spartak Moscow hoping to come good in front of goal.
Well, that's a very good point you make there. I watched a video on YouTube of an American basketball coach, and he says when he looks at his players, if the body language is not right, you'll never play for him. You'll sit on the bench or you'll be out. And if he sees you're an eye person, you'll never play for him, and he makes it clear.
Had a coach, it was at the 16 level, Enzo, originated from Italy, and at the one game where I thought I played very well, all my teammates thought that played really well, and got into the change room, gave me the tongue lashing of my life. Reason being, for every corner as a left back, I had to cover one of the posts. I'd lean on the post. He blasted me like I gave away 2 own goals.
Yeah, well, I think he did you a favor, because then after that, I'm sure you never lead on the pole again. You were upright and ready.
Body language is everything. Energy. And the energy you put out. Now, end of a first half that started with good energy in this all-important clash where tempers may just be boiling over. Takes a brave man to take on a man twice his size, but a game that started with a couple of goals scored inside 3 minutes ends with both sets of players maybe frustrated at the inability to continue to break each other down here between Spartak Moscow and Bidvest Vitz. It's 2 highly gifted sides here, peerless youngsters from this Bidvest crew, but, well, it should be interesting in the second 30 minutes. At the end of the first half, Bidvest Vitz 1, Spartak Moscow 1.
It was bound to be a thrilling one between these sides. You've got Bidvest Vitz as well as Spartak Moscow, who are both looking to advance to the semi-final round of the competition. And you saw right at the start of that game, both sides coming with intent, with Bidvest Vitz also looking to match up to the physicality of the Russians. Well, it's 1-1 here at in Soweto rather, and future champions Gauteng returns after the break. Do stay tuned.
The opening goal came after 2 minutes. The second, well, came after 4 minutes. So we averaged a goal every 2 minutes in the opening 5, and it's Bidvest Vitz 1 and Spartak Moscow 1, and a game that got off to an explosive start here, Farouk.
Yeah, it was really exciting times. I mean, look at the strike we saw earlier on, and a well-taken goal there by number 10. He struck it so well. I mean, he just side-footed it into the top 1994 corner and left the keeper there, Donzella, with absolutely no chance. Look at it. He picks his spot there, and a brilliantly taken goal.
Markitesov is the man that drives and so strokes this into the back of the net, yeah?
Yeah, you must excuse me. The name, it's a bit of a tongue twister, yeah. Markitesov. And here we see the equalizer. Well taken goal there, once again from Bidvest, not showing any indecision. Human there, picking his spot, made use of the opportunity simply, Sizwe, because of the indecision. The goalkeeper, instead of clearing the ball, the defender in the first instance should have cleared it, waited too long. Here we see the first shot, comes back, clear the ball. I mean, you don't need to play it back to the keeper. And there we saw the keeper, Eli Perenko, trying to pass the ball, and Human's snapping up, snatching that goal from nothing.
Humans scores, yes, and we'll credit him for the goal, but also for any youngsters watching, the pressure applied in closing down right from the front and forcing an error. You can force an error. That's exactly what Makola did in the, mistake made by Spartak Moscow defensively. On the other side of the field, Donzela coming up with the goods on the save here, but they are impressive. Good passing and movement here, Farouk.
Look, that's the hallmark of this Spartak team. Their passing, their movement into space. They're not very mobile. You can see the speed factor is a factor, but look at the percentages there. It tells a story.
Well, just one shot more for Spartak Moscow, and not much more in the way of a lead in ball possession as well. They have had slightly more of the ball, so slightly more in the way of attacks as well. But it's all even in a half, with both sides looking to keep their tempers in check.
Yeah, I think we'll see a more dynamic game going into the second half.
It's 1-1 between Bidvest Vitz as well as Spartak Moscow in the second game of the future champions Gauteng tournament. And I'm joined on the line, or rather pitch side, by William Shonge. William, let's just look at the start of this game. Showing intent, both goals scored in those early minutes.
Well, the fact is both teams, of course, have the highest goals scored. But yes, Bidvest may be a little ahead. And you can understand where Moscow comes from. They need to get their goal average better if they're to win this game, or if they're to progress to the next round. In as far as, even if it ends up in a draw, so meaning that goals scored will really count for the most. But for Bidvest, maybe with their goals ahead, a little bit tempted to sit back and really hope for a draw. And I'm glad that they were trailing so early, because that meant they had to come out.
Now, Vitz were playing a football school of India in their previous match, and they scored 20 goals. Was that game perhaps the calm before the storm heading into this one, considering the kind of side rather that they're facing?
Maybe not necessarily, but in their minds you could say that at face value. But let me tell you, the fact that Moscow was way ahead in as far as goals, they had to come and play, and for them to make sure that they qualify to the next stage of the tournament. And there was pressure, but even more today.
Thank you so much, William. Well, you did see those two changes that Dylan Shepherd made heading into the second, or rather heading into the second half of the match. Well, there's a lot to look forward to between these sides. The winner advances rather to the semi-final round. Well, for now, let's go back to the commentators.
We are hoping for more in the way of goals here. Early goals from Bidvest Vitz and Spartak Moscow. Farouk Khan joining me in commentary. And Farouk, what we saw between these two sides in tempers nearly boiling over right at the end of that first half after the whistle had gone. Your thoughts on that and the way they've gone on to frustrate each other, which is how I think I read their body language from both sides.
Yeah, I think this game is closely contested. Spartak haven't had it their way. They came in scoring that early goal. But Vitz have really done extremely well in giving them a run for their money.
Now, they made a couple of changes at the end of the first half to Bidvest Vitz. Spartak will make a change right at the start of the second half with Igor Ilin coming on here. And while two more changes available to the men from Russia, rather I should say, and just one for the men from South Africa. Spartak looking for the early attack, asking too much of the movement in this near side of Sazonov. What is interesting about the Spartak side, some of the lads have been together for the last 6 years in the squad that's made the travels down here to South Africa. So there's also a telepathic understanding by now, having grown up together.
Well, it's important. If you look at this as an under-17 team, if they've been together since 11 years old, which shows that they're following the true principles of development, which is systematic scientific development that starts as the earliest age possible. With tennis as well. some of the top tennis stars are 15 and 16 when they play on the circuit.
True. And having read Andre Agassi's book, they play against each other, the very best in the world. When they're kids, the system works so well that you play the best when you are the best at the very youngest of ages, and by the time they meet professionally at 20, 22, they know each other very well on the circuit. Early ball. And in that book with Andre Agassi, the one relationship that spanned a long time that he certainly didn't enjoy, but I enjoyed reading about, was his and Michael Chang. He was no fan of Michael Chang's, Andre Agassi. Who knew? Don't know if you remember Michael Chang, the winner of the US Open.
Oh yes, how could I forget? What a dynamic player. Chinese player, American tennis player. But in saying that, I do believe that if you play against the best or play with the best, that's the only way you're going to improve, because the competition you play will determine your progress. If you play against weaker opponents, you won't improve, because you'll be, like they say, one eye in the land of the blind.
No test and pushing of one's limits. That's all idea, to keep you at that maximum pushing the envelope, so to speak. Bidvest Vitz with the set piece here. Humans keeping it short. Phillips. He's drawn some off from last year's tournament, Phillips, if memory serves me right. He was part of that group from last year, this Gauteng Future Champs.
Yeah, I think these kids, it's good to see a lot of these players from Bidvest coming through and playing at least 2 or 3 years in this tournament. So they're not coming in at 17, they're coming in at 15 and 16, and they're growing into the next age group.
Did have the top goal scorer in the tournament last year, and young Dutiru was part of their multi-choice Diski Challenge team this year. Can't wait to see him develop. He is the one thing I do believe that's missing from the ABSA Premiership. We've got the levels rising in entertainment levels and turnout. We're looking to improve in that regard, and there's the youth development with which we've seen each club grow, but we don't have a true finisher. Man that's going to give us consistently 20 goals a season and be the driving force from that point of view, in being the LeBron James, the star of the league, so to speak, the face of the league. So Dutiru is one of those that, without putting pressure on the youngster, will be tasked with that, his generation, seeing if we can get a Leslie Manyatela.
I think those were naturally gifted players, and it's not often that you find a striker like Manyatela who's just got what it takes. We gotta develop them, and that requires proper coaching from a very young age. And that's an area, goal scoring, I don't think enough emphasis is put on.
Good movement, lovely ball over the top. That's a beautiful goal. Route one stuff, but the quality of the ball to match the run was something to marvel at, Farouk. And it's Marki Tesov that gets his praise.
Yeah, Marki Tesov gets his praise there. Good run there. Didn't really stop running. If you look at the ball there, the mistake that is made here is the first header is missed. The ball bounces, and the keeper hasn't come off his line. And Marki Tesov there, placing the ball in the corner. Donsela a little bit late off his line. Because the ball was going towards him, he should have stepped up earlier and taken care of it.
Spartak Moscow go into the lead once again. They scored early in the first half. It took them 2 minutes, taking them 4 minutes, so they've gone off the ball somewhat here in the second half.
Yeah, they're out by 2 minutes. Well, you never know, maybe Bidvest is going to score in the next minute or two.
Wow. And they'll be gnashing their efforts from the first half, that'll be for sure. Oh, by the way, our good friends Themba Boyi and William Shongwe, Farouk, or was it you that covered the Mamelodi Sundowns game against Atletico yesterday?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, you guys have the pleasure of having done the first 0-0 scoreline in this tournament, you and Themba.
Is it so we hold the record for for no goals?
Yeah, we had fingers crossed to see who would be the first to pick up that.
Okay, is there an award with it? It's just a
it's more
mention.
like a fine. It's more like
Well, in fact, we expected goals there, but those
Yeah.
two teams neutralized each other out. I had the pleasure of speaking to the head of development there, Spartak, and he felt that Sundowns gave too much respect to Atletico Madrid and didn't play the normal game.
Good movement. Now, looking to take matters into his own hands there in the shot. Well, well
almost,
saved
we were-
then.
we were
and,
almost on target.
We're almost on target for the perfect response 2 minutes after having conceded, which was the case in the first half. Almost a case of deja vu in post scorers as well, Farouk.
Yeah, no, great effort there. He struck it well. Was it Makola?
Human, who scored the equalizer last time. So the opening goal in this match was scored by Marki Tesop after 2 minutes,
Yeah.
cancelled out by Humans after 4 minutes.
Yes.
And here we are in the second half. 4 minutes it took for Marki Tesop to get his praise.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes later, as would have been the case in the first half, Humans
Human
very
comes
nearly
close again.
coming out to cancel out that
Wow,
goal.
it would have been a fairy tale for him, eh?
Yeah.
Having to score a brace and match Marki Tesop's brace.
Funny how that situation, of course, would have had those that are superstitious in nature and
Yeah.
beliefs coming out and
there's
pointing
something
an
wrong with-
accusatory finger at this particular fixture.
But then again, I don't know if the Spartak Moscow guys use juju.
No.
You think so?
Well,
They got their
I
own.
was very surprised to hear the conversation we had on Soccer Africa most recently that out in Europe it's more popular than it turns out I thought. But I hadn't heard any stories over the years really of significance, and I've had plenty from around the continent, the African continent that is.
I know it's common in South America, but then again, there's a lot of African tradition and culture in South America, in Brazil.
Pressure, 2 men on the one defender. He's lost in the throw in. They both have taken advantage of the situation again here on this near side, and it's worked them all the way into the box then with some nice touches in holding it up. But this young lad can certainly jam. He's impressed us right from the get-go in the early stages. He's nice with the ball at his feet, is Ignatov.
Yeah, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. Him and Leptev, very skillful players.
Good width, movement in behind that defense. Disappointment, however, in the ball played in by Keegan Allen.
Good intention from Allen, but the pass didn't match the intention. Wasn't the best of cutbacks.
Foul for the late challenge on Proslyakov. Lesson one learns early in being discouraged to stick to my studies and not pursue football any further. I was asked a question at about 16 or 17 years of age. Firstly, one was position one plays. I said left back. And the immediate answer then was, I was told it's too late to change positions now, being 17 or 18, and when you play professionally you'll be too short, and that sort of situation was used as an example. And when a man is as big, well, as the size was then, with the shot coming in and going wide of the mark, you can't predict where the man's going to turn because you can't see the ball at all. And you could see then the struggle from Kize, who had to almost bend and almost try and look under his opponent to get a sight on the ball and try and predict which way it was going to roll, because you could easily get rolled in that situation.
Well, I think to some extent size as a fullback is over-exaggerated. If you look at some of the best, Dani Alves, you look at some of the best in the world.
Then again, we're talking 90s and footballers, and in the wide defensive positions, it's changed a lot now. What's required of a left back then and what's now very common in the wing back these days.
Well, I think it was called left back, which meant you had to stay in that particular area.
Hardly go over that halfway line.
Now the modern game requires you to have your wing backs push up because they create space for you and they create width for you as well. So yeah, it was unfortunate. Maybe you came a bit too early. Maybe if you came 20 years later, who knows?
Of course, I mentioned that, not necessarily to tell a personal story, but to highlight some of the difficulties in South African lads and the moves abroad, and the possible move abroad, and maybe why it doesn't happen as much as it did in the mid-90s. They were bigger. Some of the, well, a lot of the players that played out in the 90s, compared to some that are quite challenged in the height department.
Yeah, you see, when it becomes a problem, Sizwe, is when you got to defend from a diagonal ball, where the left fullback or right fullback has to be aerially good. And that's where I do agree that you need to have good elevation.
You need good speed, yeah. Not enough for Spartak Moscow to capitalize, but eager nonetheless was Sazonov.
Yeah, it's interesting that we speak about size and stature. I think the modern game now obviously demands that your goalkeeper and your two central defenders, with the exception of maybe your target man, which many clubs don't use anymore, should have a decent height. And when we say decent, about 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot.
These days, if you can get yourself a big man that has the attributes which we are seeing in these young lads here from Russia, in Spartak Moscow, where you can run, good balance, lovely technical ability, good understanding of the game, and good passing. That's almost a complete footballer. As the shot comes in from one of the most complete footballers out on the field in Ignatov. Big, quick, great footballing brain. The modern footballer, this is almost like the super soldier.
Yeah, it looks like he's one of those, you know, those soldiers that would develop in a laboratory of sorts.
Universal
he's got all
soldier.
the yeah, he's got all the skills. But that's an exception rather than the rule, you know. So it's an argument that we can go on talking about.
It's rare to see at the very highest level. It's something that's seen as special if you're able to obtain it. The hype over Pogba, a player with his qualities, with his size. Ibrahimovic, his qualities, his size. Usually they have speed and technical ability, and not all of what those two bring to the party at that size.
100%, 100%. It's always a blessing to have all of the attributes.
Look at Fellaini is the perfect example in the opposite for a big man.
But then the best players in the world, if you look at Lionel Messi, is not the tallest.
No, he's just a magician.
He's just something else. And then you've got the other guys like Aguero. You know, in South America and in Africa, you're not going to get those big specimens.
That's where they defy logic. Guys like Romario over the years and so on. Clement Erasmus in present-day terms for a striker.
I mean, I have a story of one of my best players I ever developed, Mushe.
Yeah.
And he's now back in the academy working as a coach. He was a phenomenal player. You ask any of the players that came through the academy, they'll tell you the best player we ever had, but he was too short. And the national coaches saw him and they just said, look, he's brilliant, but the height was a factor. And he played as a midfielder. I always say to you, if you were born in Brazil or in Spain, you'd be playing.
Comfortable flick on. Good battle in the air then from Phillips and winning it back. Markitesov. Like the mixture of the skill and the strength. Enjoying watching those duels, yeah? Also, I'm not just meaning it from a Markitesov point of view. The young man that won the set piece here from Bidvest Humans in the two goal scorers battling then against one another. He made a good solid fight of it in a battle he shouldn't, well, he had no right putting up the fight he did, but he did. Big heart.
Big heart, and you can see he's got a low center of gravity, not tall, not big, but strong on the ball. And something they're doing at Vitz as far as the physicality is equip these boys to compete with physically stronger players.
Spoke of Phillips, he's the one with the flamboyant hairstyle with the 13 at his back at Bidvest Vitz. If you catch a glimpse of him a little later, he won the last aerial duel. Here he is in the battle of the 13s here on the near side. He last year was looking much smaller than he is now, so you can see the development physically. It's not a huge difference, but, well, I remember last year thinking it's, well, maybe slightly concerned at how he was lacking in that department and the possibility of him getting hurt. He's got meat on that bone now.
Yeah, it's about diet.
Muscle.
It's about diet, about rest and sleeping. Those are the three factors that play a key part in any player's development.
the joys of being in the lead. Your opponents become your ball boys. Thrown on the near side, and Spartak Moscow lads all stood. They didn't run up to the ball. One of the Bidvest lads ran from infield, off the field, got the ball, and brought it right back to where it should be taken.
So
Handed it
true,
right back
so
like a
true. You just
gentleman.
wanna see that clock slowing down, and you make use of every minute.
Change being made here. It's Bidvest Vitz that will make it. Malik Mashinini will be coming on here. Making way. Mpoma Tebola. Near post. Taking no chances is Keenan Phillips. It came off of the opponent last in Kriel Former. So, Bidvest Vitz ball.
Well, the coach has made quite a few subs to effect more positivity moving forward. But they haven't really gotten that many shots on target. I think Bidvest need to use more wing play to throw these big fellows out of the center and look for cutbacks to get back on even terms.
One of the most influential players in this match is Humans for Bidvest Vitz. Looking effective as the box-to-box midfielder. Played in a very similar fashion last season. I can remember him coming off the bench once or twice. He is a starter now, consistently.
Look, every tournament you're going to have these youngsters on the bench coming in at the appropriate time, and then, as you pointed out earlier, some of them moving to the disky teams. A step up to the reserve league, and the MDC is an excellent platform for these boys to aspire to.
Change being made here. Sudarikov is the man coming on, and the skillful number 9 in Kriel Former is the man that'll make way. Now set piece then is disappointing in the way it all panned out then. Didn't connect with it all too impressively. Dean Horn, one of those that started this match on the bench. Lovely skill and the ability to speed up, slow down, almost hit the brakes, and then speed up once again was too much for the defender.
Yeah, well, the defender is arguing with the referee, saying that was a throw in there. Number 6 there, saying to the referee that wasn't that a throw in Peradiri. But he used his body well there. Sometimes you got to do that to stop an opponent, not foul him aggressively, but just obstruct him.
Reminds me of a issue I wanted to raise with you. Get your thoughts on, which we will do after the set piece. Only a 2-man wall. It might be lacking in work, but I tell you what, that's probably the highest wall at this age group we've seen here at the Nike Center. Oh, that's a cross-come shot. Keeper's got fingertips onto it, and then the ephemeral goal coming to the rescue for Spartak Moscow.
Very unfortunate there, very unfortunate. Excellently taken, and disappointment with that one not entering the goal. But you have to compliment the shot from Human. It had so much pace on it, so much spin on it. Really well taken, and unfortunately didn't go into the net.
Doing it all is Humans.
Yeah, Humans is some sort of spectacular player that I've seen in this particular game, having gotten close, even getting his second, and there for the third time.
There he is, battling in midfield, losing it, winning it back, outnumbered, and keeping the tempo going for Bidvest Vitz.
I wonder if his height will be a factor moving forward. Because
Well,
really he's got a lot of talent.
Tell you what, it hasn't denied him from being one of the most influential players out in this field, and one that has stood out here along with this man here in your picture, turned into trouble.
Yeah, my,
Well dealt with by Phillips.
my concern is moving up a level to the PSL, to the NFT. Sometimes that becomes a problem.
There's Humans, gets beyond one. Very right-footed, but he's found the right pass. Can they find the right avenue to the equalizing goal here, Bidvest Vitz? That's the question. Well, they get the shot and they do find it.
Brilliant goal
Having
there.
ball from the back and right through midfield is Humans. He was very involved in the creation of this goal, but in the end, it's a perfectly placed shot that's given the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. Beautifully taken.
Beautifully taken there from the substitute. Mashinini took it so well. In fact, the goalkeeper was unable to have a clear view of the goal, and Mashinini taking full advantage of it, playing it between the defense and the keeper, and well taken goal there.
Two quality sides that have scored 2 goals in each of the 2 halves, and here we are with 52 minutes gone by, the scoreline reading: Bidvest Vitz 2 and Spartak Moscow 2. Is there any separating these two? Well, let's have the fixture list just to anticipate what to expect today. And when I saw these two sides facing each other, this was yesterday, the prospect meant, look, we should be having a very good game here, defending champions, and I was very impressed. Yes, it was 15-0 for Spartak Moscow against School of India. Difficult to read into that, but I was still very impressed with what I thought I saw. It's very evident here against Bidvest Vitz, but I expected a difficult game, and they are giving Bidvest Vitz a good go for their money, and Vitz are going toe-to-toe with them. Impressive from both these sets of youngsters.
Very, very well played game from both of these teams, from a tactical point, from a point of taking your chances. Goalkeepers were outstanding as well. So all round, I think, an exceptionally well played game.
I think I found the perfect logo for the South African lads in the way of football coming into this tournament. Size does not matter.
Yeah, they've just overcome that.
A phrase, yeah, like
Yeah,
catchphrase.
they've done so well. I mean, Human is a good example of what you just said.
In fact, watching him, I was thinking Benedict Vilakazi for a large portion of this match. Benedict Vilakazi, that is, the former Pirates man.
Ah, what a player, what a player. So I remember him very fondly.
Similar positions, and what Vilakazi had as a central midfielder was the ability to come up with the telling moments in the key pass, the assist, the goal.
Oh, what a player. What a in fact, when I was at Chiefs, he was a nightmare for us. Whenever we played in the derby, he would be one of the players that we would fear most. And as luck had it, he would then obviously be the one to score in every derby.
At times, the equalizing goal. I remember he cancelling out the Sean Bartlett goal at one point in his career in the derby. Also a leader is a Humans. Outside of your picture, he wasn't just having a chat with his teammates, but showing them on the technique he should have used, the attempt to get the pass going.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player. And as I said earlier on, my only concern is that, you know, wherever he goes, he gets the opportunity based on his ability rather than on his height.
Decision against Spartak Moscow. Did the young goalkeeper step out of his box here? We had that game earlier with Porto Rino, and one had to feel for them, the aside from Italy, who had a men sent off yesterday, including today, early in the encounters.
I will look at it closely here. Leferinko, he has the ball in his hands. Yeah, as he's about to kick.
The ball is out there, he's chucked it up.
He's chucked it up.
Taken a step forward, had the forward momentum.
And
I think it's touch and goes, not so he
It is touch and go because his heel is still on the line, and the line forms part of the box. So a tight one, but the referee obviously felt his foot had left.
And this is the near side official that calls it, having been in line with the goalkeeper in the box.
Yeah, and we know Human from this distance is actually very dangerous. We saw him early on.
So, the brass band from Bidvest Vitz, is it? Yep, it is. They're wearing the T-shirts, they've got the sporties, they've got the All-Stars.
Yeah.
They will get down to the Pantula dancing, we're hoping later on in the day, which
Yep.
is now an everyday thing every time there's a home match out at the Bidvest Stadium.
Yeah, they bring a lot of life to this tournament. Those drums and those trumpets going, really giving a good vibe. And I mean, we standing here, we sort of just shaking it a bit.
Well, there's a hope one of these two sides will shake the earth here and find a winning goal, which will make it a 5-goal thriller.
Yeah, we see a 4-man wall, which is a big risk. But
Keeper's
probably
having problems seeing the ball here. He's having to lean to his side. Opening it up, of course, to his left, but the wall did its job at the first time of asking.
Well, I think it was a wrong choice there. Left foot would have been perfect because they only had 4 in the wall. They could have bent it around. Wrong decision to have a right foot to try and, you know, get it over the wall.
Good closing down. Again, they're hunting packs when they close down in that fashion to Spartak Moscow.
Well, I think both of these teams see an opportunity to win it in the last 5.
2-on-2 situation. Good ball over the top. Support quick to arrive. The opening for Bidvest Vitz, and in the end, they could have had more numbers than against the two back in defense had there been a bit more composure shown.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. If he had been more composed, there was more options coming from the right. He rushed his shot, and the keeper was well positioned.
Something we're seeing a lot of. Every time there's a foul, Farouk, and I wanted to pick your brain on this. You'll see a referee say twice last time. And, we were talking, and you were talking earlier about fouls that are necessary at times, but unnecessarily vicious, and that's not warranting any punishment. You think of a Claude Makelele, players of that nature, hardly picked up a yellow card, always committing fouls or winning the ball back or involved in that part of the game where it has to get physical. And the list in examples could carry on and on, but in the interest of time, these days we're seeing referees just maybe say, let's say, count 3 offenses rather than the severity of the offenses showing a card. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you know, it's the discretion of the referee, how he reads the game, and some of them, as you often say, click, click, bang. They're quick to pull the trigger. They don't obviously look at the foul itself. Was it a vicious tackle? Was it a tackle that could ruin a career? And often you see they warn you for the first foul if it was a tactical foul, and they say, oh, look, you've done it twice. The third time we're going to book you. That's fair enough. But if it's the first one, I don't think you should be too harsh.
See, that's where the debate has come up for those of us of an 80s type of football upbringing, where it's a debate where we knew growing up you could foul a guy as many times as you wanted. As long as you didn't hurt him, you could foul him as many times as you wanted. There was no card coming.
Yeah.
And things have changed now to a point where if you even see the opponents doing it, that are big fouls, getting up and saying, look, he's fouled me 3 times now. It's not about the severity of the foul. It's just that he's constantly fouling. That's the battling part for the old school thinkers.
Well, I think we have to go with the times, and the time says that we have to protect the skillful player to create more of a spectacle. You know, if you're constantly fouling Messi, even if it's not a dangerous tackle, you're stopping the play.
Give you an example. Cameroon, Maradona, 1990, opening game. They fouled him every time he got on the ball. They won the match. I thought, great tactical plan. How else are you going to stop Maradona?
Yeah, it's a great tactical plan, but is the game is it being done in the spirit of the game? Is it being done to spoil Maradona's opportunities? And I think if you look at it from that angle, I suppose from a coaching tactical point, you'll want to say it's a good tactic. But I think from a spectator's point of view, you want to see Maradona scoring those 5 goals. So it's debatable. I would say.
Defenders will argue, why have defenders then?
Yeah, well, I would say as Africans, it works in our favor.
Yeah.
Because we're not the biggest, and we get fouled more often than maybe your more physical players.
Human, shoved off of the ball, still there to put up a fight. Boy, does he work hard. He's got an engine. He's still going. He grafts, Human.
Oh, he grafts. He's definitely one to look out for in the future. But this team, this Bidvest team, have got a lot of talent. I mean, I've watched him, Kizi, Kunyedi as well. Good players.
even result this? Fair result?
Fair result. I think both teams had their moments, had their chances. We did say it's going to be a hotly contested game, and I think 4 goals is fair for the fans, for everybody watching it. They've been given the 4 goals as well as some good football all round.
Early ball in search of Prosliakov. Men in red should keep it alive here on the near side through Ignatov. Muscled off of it impressively. Under 2 minutes remaining, so still time for a winner here in this clash between two sides that will be seen as those amongst the favourites, along with Mamelodi Sundowns and then Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I did say yesterday, for me, these are the teams that are probably going to be in the semis moving forward.
It's nice to see these days in the way of PSL football, South African coaches, men that were players back in the 90s, they're in the coaching structures. And when you look at the MDC, plenty of South African coaches, even the likes of Makala Kalani and varsity football have popped up there. Former internationals even that are in charge at varsity football level, MDC level. Ricardo Kata's done a tournament here where he led SuperSport United. Many players are now coming through the system. Dylan Shepherd, of course, leading Bidvest Vitz, says his side don't fall victim to a headed winner.
Well, it's very true, you know, and it's very exciting, especially when you talk about players like Dylan who came from good development backgrounds. They can impart that knowledge, and it's always nice. Katza, another one, came from a good development program. So the generation of players that have come through now actually add a lot more value. No disrespect to the guys of the past, they weren't really coached by the best. In fact, they were, in most cases, players that had tremendous talent. And I would like to say that if they had the coaching, I always say to players like Dr. Hendon, where would they have been?
The coaching at a young age, a lot of them were discovered as the finished product as well, already at about 18 or so. Now, here's the shot! Winner! They've come from behind twice and they grab the lead for the first time in a 5-goal thriller with seconds remaining, and quite possibly the last kick of the game. Bidvest Vitz making
Brilliant.
a real statement in this year's tournament.
Brilliant, they never gave up. Look at the fight there. And I mean, look at the shot here. Well taken shot there. Really outstanding performance there from Bidvest Vitz. Number 15 there, Leo Mert.
In off the bench just a few moments ago. That was possibly his first touch since coming on, Farouk.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the substitute, the coach will say, wow, what a substitute. They will bring him on and he scores the winner. Fantastic.
As we're praising the young coaches coming through the system,
Yeah.
Dylan Shepherd comes up with a coaching masterpiece in the inspiring substitution.
Brilliant. And I mean, what more can we say? The Spartak team is shell-shocked.
That was the last kick of the game. What a dramatic winner. Now, if you weren't with us for this match, and this will go down as one of the more memorable games in the history of the future champions, Spartak Moscow, quality, open the scoring in a minute. Couple of minutes later, equalizer. It pretty much starts out the same way in the second half, where it just takes a few minutes for Spartak Moscow to get the lead once again. Dylan Shepherd's men wouldn't lie down and hand over the win that easily. They found the equalizer and they left their best for late. The change and the winning goal with the last kick, you can't get better drama than that, Farouk.
Yeah, but I don't think the sportsmanship from the Spartak players not very good. I mean, we had Dylan putting out his hand, he had the players shaking hands. They're poor losers, to say the least.
It's a hard loss to take, I do believe this. They were already getting at each other at the end of the first half. Such was the toughness of the competition. And you know, players that are that good don't like losing, Farouk. I'm not making excuses for the young lads, but already they were at each other's necks at a point when there was no tension and no reason for tempers to boil over. They were just that good that they frustrated each other, and you tend not to like your opponent when they met you and you believe in yourself and think, oh, you are very good. At the end, a very good match. 5 goals. High five we get in this all-important clash. Bidvest Vitz 3, Spartak Moscow 2. looking back at the goals, yeah, they came early. This in the opening minutes. It was unbelievable at this point, Farouk.
Yeah, no, they struck early and they struck it well. We saw that well-taken goal there. And you can see the keeper there a little bit disappointed, but he couldn't do too much with it because look at the way the ball is struck. It's struck clearly and cleanly there by Marki Toff.
So 2 minutes it took, and we knew then we were in for quite a day. And then exactly 2 minutes later, meaning within 4 minutes, we'd already witnessed 2 goals. They're closing down from the front, forcing the error.
Forcing the error, and guess what? Human there in the right place at the right time. And look at the finish. He didn't give the keeper there, Eliverenko, much of a chance. And I must compliment this young man, Human. He's really a goal poucher.
Superhuman is what he is.
Well, we just left out the super, eh? But there we see what he's all about. He's picked his spot. Look at it. When the ball comes back, Sizwe, look at him. As it comes, he's got a lot to do. The ball is running towards him, but he opens his foot and places it.
My man of the match, of course, Human, but well, it was a battle between the Bidvest Vitz number 6 and the Spartak Moscow number 10 getting his brace.
Yeah, Marki Tipov there being so away in that area. The bounce beat the defense of Bidvest Vitz, and they were made to pay. Look at the ball coming across. I would have expected the keeper maybe to have come a little early, but take nothing away. Great finish.
Now, then started to get desperate. Bidvest Vitz continued to push on here, and credit to them. This is another well-taken goal in just creating the yard for the space. And it's not about power, it's all about placement here.
Placement there, Machinini showing class there in the finish, and he put it beyond the keeper. The keeper had no chance of getting to it. Look, he plays it into the far post. Look at it. He looks up, hits it first time, and the keeper was completely beaten. Going towards the left, unable to get his balance to come back, and well taken goal there by Machinini.
And then in off the bench, the late, great winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, well, you know, nobody would have thought of it. But what a great substitute. They're scoring at the appropriate time and giving them all 3 points.
3 goals scored, 3 points pocketed. What a battle. 5 goals just served up at the end of the day here. It's a Bidvest side that sent through a proper statement to the rest of the opponents. The same can be said for Spartak Moscow. These sides surely will be shaking it up going forward. Having a look at the numbers here, and well, it's interesting that Bidvest Vitz have got more in the way of shots on target, more in the way of goal attempts, but less in ball possession.
Yeah, well, you know, Bidvest played a very, very attacking game, and although they didn't have as much possession, they made it count when it matters most.
They made it count in the way of goals as well, and in the end, it's Bidvest Vitz that walk away winners.
A dramatic start as well as finish to this enthralling encounter between Bidvest Vitz as well as Spartak Moscow. But I'm standing here with the winning coach, Coach Dylan Shepherd. Coach, it seems your Russian came in handy today.
No, not really. I mean, the boys outperformed themselves. You know, we're technically a very good team, also tactically. So, you know, as the game wore on, they started stretching a bit, which helped us, and helped us get back in the game. And yeah, we stole it in the end. Eh?
Now, let's look at some of the tactical changes that you made. I saw Ethan playing a bit more on the left. How did that come in handy for you?
Yeah, we thought we'd just use Cabello's nifty pace amongst their tall defenders. It took an Ethan out because of his defensive quality down the side, just to stop their fullbacks from coming forward, which worked to a certain extent. And then we made some changes. You know, Malik came in, and then we brought Leo in, and they both scored goals. So, you know, it's always good that when you bring your bench players from the bench, that they always come and add something positive.
Now, you've given a number of your players runs in your respective games. How do you feel about the depth of your team at the moment?
Yeah, no, it's always important to give everyone game time. You know, it's also, we've got quite a lot of younger players, so it's always good for them to gain the experience for next year and get a feel what the tournament is about. Eh? But, you know, it's all good. They're all good in game time, which is the most important. And like I say, it's always good for the development.
Now, going forward, looking at the games that you've played and the results that you got as well as the lessons that you've learned, what are you going to be taking heading into the semi-final round?
Well, I mean, it looks like we're going to play Atletico again, a repeat of last year's final in the semi, so they're very tough. The Spanish are always going to be high quality, so, we've got to go back. It's important that the boys get a good day off, get good rest, good recovery, and yeah, we'll watch the videos and watch some of the live games, and let's see what game plan we can come up with.
Coach, congratulations, get some rest and all the best going forward.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you.
That is Dylan Shepherd, the coach of Bidvest Vitz. A 3-2 victory, and they did need that victory, in fact, but managing to go top, or rather stay top of Group B, heading into the semi-final round of the competition and being the first South African side to do so. I'm joined now by the coach of Spartak Moscow, who is Vadim Romanov. Coach, a disappointing result considering how the game started.
Результат был...
Я понял. Да, мы разочарованы результатом. Хотел бы просто сказать о том, что нам очень нравится в ЮАР, нам очень нравится в Южной Африке. Очень сильно организован турнир. Очень приятно здесь находиться. К сожалению, некоторые действия судей вводят недоразумение и, получается, наводит на мысль о том, что победа определенных команд нужна любой ценой. В России так не принято, мы всегда за честную борьбу в преддверии чемпионата мира и всегда было испокон виной, поэтому нам грустно сталкиваться с такими моментами.
Yes, we really disappointed with the result, but nevertheless we are very satisfied with the tournament here in Gauteng, and unfortunately we have some little questions to refereeing because in Russia we have no such actions, and that means that the results and the win must be achieved in any actions, and that's it.
So, Coach, you're going to be playing for at least a 5th place finish in the competition. What are you going to be looking to get out of your previous games heading into that one, given that you've registered your first loss?
Ну, первые игры мы выиграли, мы боковали в серии за первое место, а сейчас мы будем играть тогда за вторые.
Да, будем играть за игру, мы очень этим разочарованы, но задача нашей академии готовить качественных футболистов для основного состава. Тем мы будем заниматься развитием наших игроков в каждом игре. Чем мы и занимаемся.
As we said, we are a little bit disappointed that that our defeat do not allow us to pass for the first places, and the main object of our academy to train the football players for the first team, and nevertheless, and no matter what the result was, we will be achieving this objective.
Coach, hard luck and all the best with your next encounter.
Нам не повезло, и как мы с этим будем бороться?
Никак, будем продолжать играть в футбол.
No matter that was bad luck, we will try to play football the next games.
Thank you. That is the coach of Spartak Moscow, Coach Vadim Romanov, after that 3-2 loss. And considering the fact that they were leading this match, they'll come out the more disappointed of the side. Well, an exciting match coming up this time around. It is champions Atletico Madrid taking on Orlando Pirates. Do stay tuned, rather, to the next game.
Venga, va, chicos. Vamos, Aleti. Mírame la tele. Sí, para no verla. Sí, va a hablar con Jerez.
Doesn't temper too much. Which information that the players seemingly can understand and have been very effective with, but obviously for their development process, it's important that they do learn to adjust to different approaches to the game.
Now Igor Rojo coming in yesterday, was a substitute off the bench. But of course, allow me in apologizing for the loss on commentary. We have seemingly sorted that technical problem out as a bit of technique from Atletico Madrid, looking to hit the early steps.
Well, for me, I think from Orlando Pirates' point of view, I think it'll be important that they really stabilize that middle of the park. They're making sure that they don't allow too many turns, particularly in that attacking third, because looking at the strength, the build of these players, they basically have the ability to shoot even from standing position, and they pack some power.
Yep, they do indeed pack some power. They pack a lot of technique and guile as well. Looking to unsettle them as Letabo Mazubu with a neat little turn, but I thought there was a whistle there. Perhaps it's from a game just behind us. The All-Stars taking on the School of India. Expect a high-scoring game in that one. If the pass is anything to go by. 15 in their first game, 20 in the game after that. Are we going for 30 in the third?
Well, just listen to my colleagues yesterday talking about maybe the mistake that Indians would have thought coming to this game, that maybe the game of football is also played in the form of cricket, whereby the numbers are that high. But, well, obviously they're trying just to have a little bit of fun into trying to explain the situation, but the real matter here is that this is a team that, for me, a country, should I say, that maybe doesn't come too much from a great development program. Football has just been recently introduced into that country, so I'm sure it will come with time.
Yeah, a league that has only been in existence for 3 odd years or so.
That's right.
So it's got a long way to go if to match the likes of the rich history of Madrid and the PSL as well, if to name some of the most stronger leagues around the world. But it should be a good learning curve nonetheless for these youngsters.
And I guess as well we can take quite a big lesson as well as South Africans. I think we didn't just arrive into the international frame here and suddenly started making or achieving great results. It has taken a bit of time, obviously with great players now coming through the ranks that would have gone through some formal development programs where certain factors of the game in as far as development are concerned. I'm talking about the fundamental factors for performance levels, and this is what we're beginning to see now coming through. Yes, natural skill we did have, but the physical side of the game certainly has been in short supply.
Here's something I'm gonna throw at you, Mr. Shongo. You mentioned all the things that you can coach. How about things perhaps as a question mark around whether you can coach them or not in terms of heart, spirit, and a bit of fight?
Well, those falls are within the fundamental development factors. Definitely, it has to be trained. Some do have it naturally, but they can be trained. You know, that's why basically you start them early so that they can really get to understand the competitive nature of the game.
Speaking about the competitive nature, wasn't that in full effect as Alvaro Chumia, the neat little turn, and they move it on quite nicely to that far side. Neat back healer as well to get the ball in a good crossing area. A cross comes, shot goes in. What a finish. As lucky as it gets, De La Morena and co won't care. Atletico Madrid hit the front early in 5 minutes.
I think that can be best explained by that very fact, but maybe Lekhonolom Fokeng not being able to cover that wide area as he should, coming a little bit too late, but clearly that ball wasn't meant to go direct. That's a very tight angle to try and score from there. There's a little bit of fortune that came with it, and the goalkeeper caught in that near post, and some will say maybe he should have done better, but I'm saying if the ball comes from that kind of an angle, you got to make sure that at least you close that near post, and that's where he was found basically. And a little bit unlucky, call it for me.
Yeah, a bit of unlucky, but you know what? You make your own luck in football. I have to say that goal started off from Alvaro Chumila. Nice back heel from Rodrigo Riquelme. And in the end, Igor Rojo, as the confirmation of the goal scorer, finished it off with a bit of the luck of the Spanish, if I can call it that. We've heard the luck of the Irish. That's the luck of the Spanish on that one. They say, por favor, muchas gracias. No, can't speak Spanish. Yeah?
Oh, te habla español.
Yeah, but okay, that's as far as I go.
Sí, señor.
Show off. No problems for Pilani Kubek and I'm sure heading into this encounter, we would have said, let's keep them tight. We know the sort of team that we up against, a team that likes to dominate possession, starve them of that possession, but most importantly, compete and don't concede, because you're going to chase the ball against this Atletico Madrid team that likes to have a monopoly on the ball.
And for me, what I think we've seen already is just how they're happy to keep the ball defensively. Only you push it forward at the right moments, knowing that they will have the numbers to be able to be in support of the striker.
Now, Atletico Madrid looking to add a bit of movement and add to the scoreline, most importantly. As Alberto Salido was holding up the play quite nicely. I was going to go back to the point I raised about competitiveness and aggression. What a lovely moment that we witnessed at the sideline in the last game. Spartak Moscow against Vitz, if we missed it. Vitz ending up late winners, snatching it 3-2, and in so doing snatching Group B from Spartak Moscow. Looked like they were going to run away from Dylan Shepard, having words with some of the Spartak Moscow lads, and in a nice little moment he started speaking Russian to them, and the facial expressions of some of the youngsters golden.
That was, I think, the most impressive part of that game for me. Looking at the face of that youngster, looking at Dylan Shepard, I was like, where'd you come from?
Did have a timeout in Russia. Nico set piece from Atletico Madrid. The man that are trained in operating in tight spaces from an early age, from when they can kick a football. The likes of Iniesta, the likes of David Silva. To make it more specific, Atletico Madrid itself, famed for its vibrant youth academy, producing the likes of Fernando Torres, El Nino, as well as Manchester United goalminder David De Gea. Bit of confusion on the far side there. Now a bit of movement, Lyle Foster. He's a man in the goals. He's a man they're going to be looking to continue to be in the goals. Yesterday's skipper, the man from Noord-Gesig. Banged a brace yesterday. Worked hard, tirelessly for Pirates. And then win, a 4-0 win. And Group D is up for grabs. Should Pirates get all the 3 points, they leapfrog Atletico Madrid to 6 points. Madrid, of course, on 4. And out with the defending champions B. From a standing start, he whips it in. Still an opportunities alive there for Tabisa Munyani, but is off balance ultimately. Couldn't get the requisite power he's looking for. That's good movement provided on Riquelme. That being Rodrigo Riquelme, today's skipper. Being harried and pulled is the man from Esperanza, Edu. There is a shot to number 2. Played the full 90 yesterday as well.
Just maybe something to also raise as an issue from the Atletico side is like the ability such that should you be able to deal with them tactically, they've got that individual ability to be able to knit their way out of situations whereby they can play the so-called maybe the kind of football that you cannot maybe plan against. So which is what Pirates need to deal with here.
Now Pirates looking to deal with Atletico Madrid in a form of a shot from Bolisambangwa. A good point you raised, because can't legislate for individual brilliance. As much as you can coach the whole week and tell the young lads, or even the senior team, that this is what you do, boys. But hey, quality is just quality.
And of course, the point I wanted to make is like, yes, it's often called maybe disorganized football, but it is nice to be able to bring that up should you play a very organized team, whereby you don't go according to the book in the way that you approach the game.
Siabonga Buddha hassling and harrying his opponent. Bit too aggressively for Innocent Makhoba's liking. 24-year-old referee. They're not giving him an ounce. That being Coutinho. He's been harried and hassled. As they punt the ball up to the man from Atletico, not something traditionally we are accustomed them to. Had a bit of more finesse. Speaking of finesse, there's one player who has it in bags, in spades. Smiso Bobela. That instance though, just shoved off the ball, and Referee Makhoba in the last few minutes is coming to the fore. A few tackles flying in. Adrian Ferreiras comes deep to pick up the ball, and look, some movement from a teammate. He finds it in the form of Aito Alvarez.
Obviously at this stage, I think what you'll see is maybe Atletico being able to control the game in a way that will be or perceived as frustrating for Orlando Pirates, because now they got the goal lead, so they can slow it down according to how they want it, and Pirates will be looking to get that ball going as quick as they can, because now they need that equalizer. But this is what these youngsters are being taught even at this level, to control the game or in a certain fashion that will favor you should the different phases of the game happen, whether in favor or not in favor.
Yeah, it was none more evident in the previous game of Vitz when we're down twice. They came back to win. In the end, they scored 3 goals to ensure that the 3 points go with them. So that's fighting spirit. Can't buy that It's what champions are made of. If you want to win, you play in different dynamics, you play in different conditions, you play different sorts of games. Another youngster, Nico Garcia, the man from Western, is battling away, but in the end, Paris clear the lines through the Tabo Mazubuko. Faroese Alex. Now, Jumia gets it to the feet of Riquelme. As the Ferreiras moves it on, looking for those intricate triangles. They nearly found one.
Because Atletico build up steadily from defense into the attacking third, so at any given position where they lose the ball, they've got numbers. They can equally press Orlando Pirates, and I think Pirates have been very uncomfortable trying to play out of their defensive zone because there's unusual numbers present from the opposition.
They're just approaching the half-hour mark of the first 30 minutes. And Atletico Madrid hit the goal-scoring charts early. They opened them up with a fortuitous cross-come shot from Igor Rojo, the number 3, for Atleti, to ensure that Pirates now have to chase the game and are behind the 8 ball. One of the Pirates players, I think that's Simiso Bobela, man from a former Snake Park United player. Took a heavy looking knock there, even goes out of the frame. Hope is okay. And they pull the trigger again. There was another chance that they created out of nothing. Rodrigo Riquelme, who's today's skipper for Atleti. Now Pirates through Buda, man from Boxburg. Siawanga Buda moves the ball on. Chinchango, Bonahai, Lerner. Pirates being slowed down a bit of Mchigacho to try and settle this well-organized Atleti team. You mentioned the organization so good.
Maybe not too much going forward for Orlando Pirates, but I think it's important that they at least hold this ball from the defensive half just to try and draw them out, because they're very organized, Atletico, when they don't have the ball as well. So you've got to try and get away or find a way to shift them off from their position of comfort.
Job easier said than done. Of course, Group D in this particular fixture. So you see that man Alberto Salido being harried again by Tabiso Mignani, the man from Mambisa, showing that he doesn't have a moment to himself. I'm going to say Group D. There's a Madrid, Pirates and University of Pretoria. University of Pretoria, incidentally, winless in their 2 games. While Pirates, as I said earlier, have an opportunity to get on 6 points and leapfrog Atleti. Well, if the game were to end now, Atleti would go through and head into the semi-finals for a 2nd year running. Now a bit of interplay from the youngsters from Orlando Pirates. The majority of this team, Mr. Shonga, coming from the Augusto Palacios Academy. We were having words with him yesterday, and he was just giving us insight about where he picks them off and what else he's looking to do in terms of young football. Oscillado with a nearly touched it. Had he controlled better, I think Cesar would have been a man in trouble.
And of course, how he explained it is Augusto Palacios, the fact that he gets them even younger, in and around the 13 years or so age, whereby he's able to really implant the right technique and just about everything that they will need going forward. And of course, when they get around the 15-year or so, they're able to be integrated into the Orlando Pirates development squad, which is where basically they tend to get these kind of game time, and they're able to play competitive competitions where they can develop further. That's where they get picked up for the under-19s and so on and so on.
Youngster Buddha showing nice touches, the number 4. As soon as Popela comes in, Popela makes sure that he gets there first. Pirates hit back. That's how you get back and you show that you want to compete. That's how you unsettle this Atletico Madrid team. De La Moreno went from happiness to anguish. Kubeka telling his boys to keep it together, I would figure. Simo Popela scored yesterday, back the second of the tournament for himself. It's 1-1 as we edge closer to the half-time break.
Fantastic, good movement. Like I said, the only way you can really get it going is being able to open them up by playing a bit of ball possession, recycling the ball into the right areas, and eventually the space will open up in your favor.
Yeah, well, interesting that when you see that replay, Luque, man from Madrid, got in the way of Jose Salidan, the goalkeeper. There's confirmation of your score, Popela in the 19th minute, to ensure that it's 1-1. Almost as if he left it for the keeper left it for him. In the end, Popela said, thank you, I'll just get inside and take it. Like a thief in the night. I was going to say before that, on a less serious note, we're speaking about Augusto Palacios. I find it quite funny or ironic that he's been here since the age of time. Still doesn't have a South African accent. Don't understand it. Sounds so Peruvian still. Don't know where he stays. Oh, a chance now for Alvarez. Pulls the trigger. There's a strong. He improvised a bit there.
Gee, there was no placement for that shot. It was just sheer power. And the goalkeeper had to react in the best possible way just to get his hands into the ball. But that effective to be able to push it over the bar.
I tell you, we'll get confirmation of which player got a yellow card as well. I ain't being told. Cross coming in. Klasa with a save. Not to be denied though. Oh, Atleti. It's the man Coutinho. And just like that, Pirates training yet again. De La Moreno, he must be going through a gauntlet of emotions. They scored first, they conceded, and they back again. Oh, what a game we're having here, Willie.
Well, now you got to start maybe looking at how positioned defensively is around the Pirates. Looking like that far post wasn't taken care of all by himself. What happened to everybody else? Masbugo, who I thought maybe should have covered that far post better.
Letabo Masubuko, the man who was in shot there, the number 2. There's the confirmation of the goal scorer. His first of the tournament, Coutinho, the centre-back partner of Luque, doing it for the central defenders. Pirates having to chase this game yet again. Post-mortem of that goal. Pirates will see that there's a marking in the front at the back post. Can't let guys like Coutinho, who are probably the best headers of a ball, they just have the freedom of your box. Klesa tried his best to parry it in a non-dangerous area, but unwittingly so pushed it into the path of a Coutinho.
Let's put it this way, for me, that initial shot, that should have been the one that found the back of the net. And I think Klesa was brilliant in keeping it out, but obviously that corner kick should have afforded Pirates a bit of momentum to be able to defend better in that situation. That's where as a goalkeeper, it feels so disappointing when you do so well and then you get let down by your defenders.
Speaking like a former non-striker. Better from Popela, who moves it on to his twin brother, Simo. That time is from Yamani, under 17 international. Gonna be looking to him to provide a bit of width and a bit of crosses through. Lau Foster has barely had a sniff in 23 odd minutes, 7 minutes remaining of this half as you see that man, Igor Rojo, the goal scorer for Atleti, the first one. He got being put under pressure, looks at the ref to ask if that's not a foul or not. And indeed, referee Matombo replies and he says, yes, son, I'll give it to you. Now it is back to goal. Now Foster does decently well. Simo Mopela has already got a taste for goals, but the shot I think took a bit of a ricochet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was caught between trying to lob it over into the far side and taking a shot. But it's a range, it's a shooting range, and looking at his body build, and it looks like one of those that can pack a shot as well.
He scored a scorcher yesterday in Pirates' 4-0 win, just from outside the box against the University of Pretoria. Set piece opportunity for London Pirates to be taken by Lehlonolo Mofokeng, and from Orlando East around these parts. The Selekela secondary school learner. Bit of sign language to his teammates, perhaps telling them exactly where he's going to put it. It's one thing telling them what you're going to do, but can you do it, son? Mofokeng whips it in. The war numbers, Lungile Kalata probably got in the way of Lyle Foster, or vice versa. The chance went up begging. Decent ball.
Yeah, probably the defender maybe could have done better in as far as announcing his presence on that far post, because I think he actually was running in, meaning that he would have had better leverage to jump and attack the ball.
Now Foster looking for Buddha. Not to be for the young Pirates starlets. I think I've been impressed by this youngster who just got the ball, Alberto Salido, the number 9. Central, his hold-up play is quite good. Now they go far side. Numbers in the box. Bit of foot of trickery. They cut it back, 45! What a save from Kheza! He literally dragged it off the line as it looked for all money, as if that was Atleti's third, but they're coming back for seconds. The man from Madrid are not done. Oh, they're putting pressure on this Pirates defense. Now Foster and Co need to alleviate it and do a bit of attacking of their own. Tries to do so by unleashing Thabiso Munyane's pace. Munyane looks to stall. Saldana, easy for him. Didn't have any numbers supporting him, did Thabiso Munyane?
But I can't help but appreciate the level of patience with Atletico plays with. For just about every time, these players seems to afford themselves some space and time on the ball, and they are not faced in any way by the pressure on the Pirates at any moment that they're trying to apply. Yeah. Whether it's being able to maybe make or find themselves the space themselves, or it's just the level of confidence they have on the ball. For me, it's a number of factors that seemingly is affording them that kind of an opportunity to play as if they've got the whole day to play.
Yeah, what's also has impressed me or caught my eye is their precision when they get to areas like this. They don't just put the ball around. There's an end product most often than not. And that's a sign of a very good team. Free kick opportunity now for Atleti, with just under 2 minutes remaining of the first half. A third goal will really throw the cat amongst the pigeons. Will like the likes of Kheza. You feel disappointed. He's got his hands 3 times, strong hands at that. Shots on target that eventually on the rebound were turned in. And this long goal drought from set pieces from free kicks continues in our future champs 17. Now Chumeya. It's over to Rojo, who finds Ferreras. In fact, that was Aito Alvarez who had made the run from out to in.
In case you're wondering how did they, or who are the real champions of this tournament, I mean, if you talk Atletico, now you see they're just unbelievable. They seem so mature for their age.
Yeah, and what's even more impressive is pretty much the whole team has been changed up. The team that came to do duty last year and won is not here. they've been moved up to another age group, the under 18s. One of the translators was telling me. So this is the next batch of Atletico Madrid. These are next superstars. Really impressive stuff. Now they look to hit it to the feet and of Alberto Salido, who's done well to hold it up. Not in that instance. Nico Garcia was making a run for him as Siabonga Buda has tried, has showed nice touches, but most often than not, really he's been forced to do that, turn back. As Salido, who's impressed me, the ball at feet, his movement, his hold-up play, it's been complete. Didn't start yesterday, didn't feature at all yesterday. But you know what, he's taking a claim to lead the line for Atleti. He's done it so well in the opening 29 minutes of play without rewarding himself with a goal.
Look at his explosive nature with which he dashes forward when necessary, but realizing that he was isolated from everybody, slow the action down almost to a standstill and look for options just to get a set-piece opportunity.
Now they look to change the angle a little bit to Atleti. Nearly worked for them. I think it was Adrian Ferreras in the back stick with the moppy hairstyle. You can't miss him. Who had gotten his head on it. I can tell you as we hit normal time, 1 minute of referee's optional time added on. He's Adrian Ferreras. The crosses are causing problems in the Orlando Pirates box there, Willie. I think Keza will be telling his defender, somebody get a head in, somebody mark someone.
In fact, if there's one thing that most of the teams were looking to take advantage from the Orlando Pirates defenders is the fact that they don't have aerial power. I know Matax actually had that in mind, though it didn't work in their favor at all.
Now, Simba Bopela, the former Snake Park United player. Look how many athletic players around him. The organization has been impeccable from the man from the capital of Madrid. They clear their lines. Can they turn attack into defense? They look to do so through a pacey looking Rokome. Rokome has to hold it up. Just slightly put off in his movement. Maya Lungila Kalata had Kalata not slowed him down. I think they were in for a third, really.
Look, once more, for me, I saw a cinema star whereby I realized he was all by himself. I mean, he made that dash and suddenly just slowed it down to see if he can get or create other options in a form of attack.
Boy, what a half of football we've experienced. Stella Moreno made 6 changes, and those changes have come good. A much more lively looking Atleti yesterday. They drew 0-0 against Mamelodi Sundowns. Food for thought for Pilani Kubega. Buhali Hleza must be a man. Buhali Hleza, should I say, should be a man who must feel slightly aggrieved. He's tried, but in the end, Atletico Madrid have been able to ensure that they hit the front at the halftime break. 2-1 at halftime.
Thank you very much to our commentary team. It is a tug of war here at the Nike Football Training Center in Soweto. Of course, it is between Atletico Madrid and Orlando Pirates. Atletico Madrid came into this game having made 6 changes to their previous starting 11 against Mamelodi Sundowns. Now, one of the changes that they made is Igor Rojo, who opened the scoring with a superb goal. It is 2-1 to Atletico Madrid here at Nike Center.
Let's come a bit more back. Just so
One taller.
What was I doing?
You'll do my facts check now. As soon as the game starts, something goes wrong. You're like, but how? We were prepared. Ay. Now ending up you to use this one. But anyway, it's the beauty of live TV. We just make it work. It was a nice game as well. Atletico is a good team. It's good nice. They fall into
check. All right, thank you. Guys, where's the Rato's mic? It's here. Yeah, Scotch.
Okay.
Atletico Madrid having hit the front not once but twice. First through Rojo and then through defender Coutinho. Paris will find a bit of reprieve as well from midfielder Opera. That's what transpired early on. Got it to that far side, neat little back healer, and Igor Rojo. The sheer numbers that were there, if he did get a ball of quality in, I'm sure one of the boys in red and white were able to get a header.
The question still remains though, was it meant to be a goal, a direct goal, or was it meaning to just ping it into the area? Nonetheless, it's still a quality cross that had the better of the goalkeeper.
Yep, Igor, I think will tell you a goal is a goal is a goal. As Mopela came up with a goal, helping Simo. A man from a Snake Park. As Pirates hit back and not to be overawed. They are fighting, of course, for Group D dominance. Atleti on 4 points while Pirates on 3. It was a bit of a miscommunication. Coutinho getting in the way of his keeper, Jose Saldana. But it was to make amends. Was the big burly defender Coutinho finding himself unmarked at the back stick and was easy pickings. Kleza Propeller, man, highly disappointed.
For me, most impressive is just the anticipation.
Great anticipation indeed, really. Now on the balance of play, Atleti have created more chances, partly laid by the foundation of having more possession than their opponents, but it's about how you use the possession. And every time they are in attacking areas on the left or on the right, they're able to get a ball in. Deadly, I think.
Now, thank you very much to our voices of SS Football. Now, joining me right now, we have Gerin Tlapo from Bidvest Vitz. Of course, Bidvest is one of the partners of the Gauteng, of the Future Champs Gauteng Edition 2017. Gary, please tell us, why was it important for Bidvest to partner up with Future Champs Gauteng?
Thank you, Lerato and Supersport, for the opportunity. Well, you see, Bidvest Pizza is very much involved in grassroots soccer development level, and we felt it's a natural fit. You know, pizza and soccer go hand to hand together. I mean, if you've played a game of soccer, you must be very hungry afterwards, you know. So, I mean, so that's obviously why we're quite involved, and we want to obviously see the guys excel in the classroom environment and, you know, off the field, and one day enjoy our pizzas and, you know, become great consumers for us, yeah.
Can you please tell us how long is the contract, or maybe the longevity of this partnership?
Oh, very good question. Thank you. So at this moment, we got involved, like I said, because of grassroots level, and we want to be involved in soccer development. So we haven't established quite firmly yet, you know, how long this will be. But as long as there's an area, you know, for soccer development, and we know that our consumers love tasting our pizzas. And I don't know if you've seen on the field, we were busy giving the kids out some free pizzas, you know. So for 20 Rand, you know, you can fill your tummy up. So let's do it again next year. You know, I think let's evaluate and see how it goes next year, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, I hope I'll have a pizza. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you very much, and you guys enjoy the rest of it. Great.
Well, that was Gary from Bidvest Pizza. Of course, they are one of the sponsors. Now, when we come back from the ad break, it is 2-1 to Atletico Madrid. It continues as a spot in the semi-final, beckons for one of these teams.
And as a confirmation of your score, as we have a bit of a retake from the center. Well, forced about to get there's Orlando Pirates team up and running. He'll be hoping to get up and running himself in terms from a goal scoring perspective, because they are trailing by 1 goal. All to play for, as I mentioned a bit earlier in the first half, that Group D is wide open. Should Pirates be able to take all the 3 points, they'll be able to leapfrog Atletico Madrid on 6 points. As things stand, Atleti, though, just doing enough to guarantee qualification into the next phase, that being the semis, to be played in the next few days. They go on 7 points if it ends as is. Not really movement. Well, the movement a bit too early from Aito Alvarez. If you're Pilani Kubeka, what do you say to your young Chargers? They toiled and they ran and they tried up against a very well defensively organized team, but a team that takes the chances, the team that knows how to manage a game.
You can look at it this one way. Obviously, if you're going to try and force the matter against an organized team like Atletico, you're not going to make much success. But the one thing that you do have is at least you can control your destiny in the way that you can force them into situations whereby you can force an error.
And they just did exactly that. Was Tabisa Munyani forced an error, and Pirates were able to retrieve possession. Neat chest from Simiso Bopela giving it to Siabonga Puda, the man from Boxburg. Gives it to the Snake Park native, that being Simo Bopela, who's already scored a goal. Asking the questions, other Pirates players. Lukhonolo Mufokeng, Mfana Wase Orlando East asking questions as well. Was not found there, dear referee.
Very confusing messages. The linesman actually had his flag up immediately, in as far as it was as if he was looking to maybe have something on for Orlando Pirates in the form of a set piece. I'm not too sure whether it will have been direct or not.
Oh, shots coming in there from Atleti. What a save from Bukhali Kheza. 16-year-old from the Costa Palacios Academy. Costa Palacios will be a proud man from that save. He's been quite superb, really. The shots have been peppered at him. He's had showed strong hands as a youngster.
And very clear-minded where he wanted that ball to go. And that could have easily been piled back into the field.
And we've seen that happen on previous other games as Atleti come back knocking. A bit of a ricochet. In the meantime, I can tell you Coach De La Morena is seeing something that he wants to tweak. Don't often see coaches are making a sub quite early after the halftime break. I can tell you the youngster Goose is about to replace Nico Garcia, the Western-born player. Nico Garcia, who was a sterling yesterday, started alongside Goose in the midfield. He's a 17-year-old from Western. Slowly makes his way off the bed. Don't know if he's super walking. I don't know if he's jogging. Don't know what that one is. And eventually makes his way off the bench. Nico Garcia looked like he'd been clutching his hamstring. Perhaps maybe you could give us insight as to why he made his way off the pitch so slowly. Oh, is that man Rodrigo Riquelme turning his man inside out. I wonder what the thinking is behind that sub from De La Morena, because didn't really have to make an early sub apart from the fact if it was indeed for an injury. As I mentioned, Nico Garcia looked to be clutching his right hamstring a bit as he briskly walked off. Oh, look at the triangles there. Able to extract themselves ever so eloquently out of that one. The man from Atleti. Back to Ferreiras, who gives it to his fellow teammate who pulls the trigger. Kheza Bukhali gets his gets his feet sorted out, and again, good positioning.
First of all, I think it was important for him to just get his body behind the line of the flight of the ball. And also because his upper body was on the front foot, meaning that he recovered well enough to be able to run onto the ball and make a second save.
Now Luke, the man from Madrid, the 17-year-old who joined the club in 2015, loses out to Lau Foster, who's abandoned his attacking position to add to the defense as Taviso Munyani looks to use his pace. But Adrian Ferreira says he's been reading the game so well. Watch how well these youngsters are gonna try play circles around Pirates. Circles via triangles, if I can call it that. Love Foster asking referee Innocent Mahloba, saying that the man fouled me, the man in Shakudino, the goal scorer, getting a yellow for that. Referee Mahloba heard him. It's been an eventful game for the youngster Godino. He's got a goal and a yellow card now.
A lot of Pirates are being forced to play out of character from a situation where they'll be used to dominating as far as ball position and the movement of the ball. But today it's not happening at all. They're being closed down very quickly. In fact, they're being forced to play the kind of football that they're not used to. That is long, whereby they find themselves isolated, particularly the players who are playing on the attacking tape.
Now, Naita Alvarez has been told to get his position sorted out as the man from Orlando East. Mkhono Mofokeng whips it in. Now Foster hits the underside of the crossbar. Pirates nearly came knocking again. That brilliant delivery from Mkhono Mofokeng. Now Foster nearly hit back.
He did just about everything right, except for that ball. Just seemed to be taking forever to drop, and ended up letting loose when it was still a little bit high, and I think still he could have done better. He needed to wrap his foot a little bit over the ball to keep it low.
Pirates though, can they reward themselves? Can they put money in the bank after the underside of the crossbar center? Officers are closed. Chance Ken, are they gonna come storming in? Pirates from the set piece. Mofokeng whips it in. Referee Makhobo spotted a bit of argy-bargy. One of the Atleti players going down. Everything is happening. A yellow card as well for Thabiso Munyane. Not sure what that was for. Comes the first Orlando Pirates player to get a yellow. There's Thabiso Munyane, the man from Emambisa, the under-17 international. Has got, in fact, 15 caps for under-17s. A bit of confusion. The referee says, come on. The player says no. Spain versus Zulu. Overneck. Oh, lost in translation by the looks of it. Those are the subs available to Telemareno. See them warming up. The likes of Fabio going through their paces there. The brass band added again, showing that they had a bit of South African flair from the stands, a bit of vibrancy, as they've been doing for pretty much since the start of this competition. Now the man Alberto Salido is looking to turn on the afterburners, but well read by Letabo Mazibuko. The man from Alex did well to snuffle that out.
Great recovery, in fact, to what would look like a straightforward through ball from some long range from the defensive half of Atletico. But great work, great shuffling around across to be able to lock him down.
Oh, we had them in shot a few seconds ago. The brass band, yeah, and Soweto almost has a cricket feel to it. We're so accustomed to seeing brass bands, you know, sort of instrumental ensemble. Mostly at cricket games, Vuvuzela is mostly the instrument of choice at most soccer games. As see that replay of Thabiso Munyane losing out to the man who came on, Gus. There he is. Gustavo Guardinomaro, call him Goose for short, I think we'll stick with that. He becomes the second Atleti player to go in the referee's book. A flurry of yellow cards, really, that we've seen in the last few minutes.
And for me, all that says basically is this is a team that is learning to play in a certain way, either to slow down the game, or should I say, if it's in favor for them to go forward, they are able to do that very well. They are able to mix both sets of plays should they need to.
Oh, a bit of afters there between Simo Bopela and one of the Atleti players. Couldn't catch who that was. This game is spicy. If the last one was anything to go by, Spartak Moscow against Vitz, that was really spicy. This one has not disappointed as well. It's had a bit of everything. We've had yellow cards. We've had goals. We've had nice chances. We've had missed chances. And I love the point you raised about what will be going through that man's face, Pilani Kubeka. Some of the youngsters we see, and I'm sure they've been supporting as well. School is out, so do come and join us. This Atleti team showing different facets to it, different dynamics, that they're just not about pity football at feet, not in possession. They know as well to take professional fouls. They know as well to mix it up just like that, get aggressive.
Which obviously I think will be very frustrating for Orlando Pirates youngsters. I mean, they're used to playing fast, free-flowing football, but when the game is being disrupted in this fashion, it just takes the rhythm off the game.
Let's prepare their second sub of the game in the form of Fernando Medrano. Started yesterday's game, but today he's coming off the bench. We'll just get confirmation as to who Medrano is going to be replacing as Thabiso Munyani continues his almighty battle on this near side with all comers. As Mofokeng clips it in. Not enough power.
It's one of the rare moments that Orlando Pirates have been able to get a ball into the war area where they can work it into the center where there's a bit of presence, something that has been very short. Each time they basically get into the front foot, you find that they're isolated because they can't play as a unit. They're being forced to play long ones, whereby Foster for the most part is isolated from the rest.
In the meantime, I think there's going to be a sub for Orlando Pirates. It's referee Makrobo. Stops play and finally notices not. One of the officials from Atleti with a shake of the finger said, no, we're not ready yet. Knee turn from Mofokeng. Now they say they're ready. I just saw them now. Pirates as well responding in kind of what to make a sub of their own. Okay, confirmation exactly it is. Because of the player spotting, wearing the number 7 jersey, not listed in the squad list for today. I can tell you though with certainty, Sewanga Buddha is the man who's going to come on.
Obviously, what hasn't been happening is in as far as finding the combinations going forward. Buddha is one of those that would have been brilliant in creating moments going forward. So I think at this stage, should try and just save a little bit of face from this game. They're going to try and bring in a bit more creative players to try and force the meta.
And Chachasine, man who just came on. And Medrano, the man from Categories Inferiors, also joined the fray for an athletic perspective. So coach Pilano Kubeka looks to change it up a bit and add more creative depth to his team, because they're getting outmuscled in terms of creation of chances up front. Oh, Lyle Foster has been in the walls in the last few minutes as the man from Rotgesig running away from the referee. Referee Makrobo says, come back here, the son.
It's been a tough outing for Orlando Pirates. First of all, you know, if you want to play, if you're a team that likes to play, you need the space to do so. When you don't have the play, or should I say the ball and the space to be able to achieve that, you basically run out of ideas. I think that's where Orlando Pirates players are right now. But it's a learning curve. I think for Kubeka as well, the coach, he should also be in a position to know, I need to have a variety of approaches into the game should this one not work. And I think our Pirates are being found out in one way in this situation.
There is the man in question, Pilani Kubeka. Sport my colleague Big Mo as well in the background, not working as usual. Has now impressive Andrea Ferreras. He's really stepped up to the plate, having not been part of proceedings in yesterday's game, but he's stepped up as a youngster. Bunisa Mbangwa doing well to pinch the ball, but they come back through Goose. Goose pulls the trigger straight into the chest of Kalada. Referee Mahlombo just noticed something. A flurry of subs happening, a bit of activity on the bench of Pirates. Told that Prince Lekete is about to come on for Lekhonolo Mofokeng. The ball just evades the Athletic player there and allows Pilane Kubeka to make that sub. Lekhonolo Mofokeng has ran his race as Prince Lekete replaces him, the man from Orlando East. Gives his teammate a bit of a pat as he walks off.
And as well, I think that there'll be a slight change into the formation because Mofokeng is more of a defensive player right now. He might just change it slightly and play with 3 at the back to see if he can influence the game in a positive way, going into attack. Increasing the presence in the middle to see if they can maybe create a few combinations to help their cause.
I was about to say the same thing, that Lekete on this near side looks to be occupying more of a midfield role, a wide midfield role. Well, Mofokeng was more of a traditional right back. As Augustus come in and looking to pull the strings. Gives it over to the skipper Riquelme, El Capitano. Now Alberto Salido. It's been quiet in the last few minutes. It was so electric, so powerful, so pacey in the opening 30-odd minutes. Lau Foster now looking to show his quality. We're gonna need today's skipper Lau Foster, the man from Noordgesig, goals and leadership if Pirates are to leapfrog Atleti, the defending champions, and head straight into the semi-finals. De La Moreno about to make another sub. Is Yaquin about to come on. Not sure who Yaquin is about to replace. There's an injury there for one of the Athletic players. It looks like the goal scorer Coutinho, the centre back.
But Juan Kong, not King Kong in any way. You can see he's far from the size of King Kong, but certainly I think getting a rare opportunity to be able to influence the game in a way. Obviously, it's one of those that wouldn't have featured in the game previously, but I think the coach once again trying to get a bit of game time into some of the players that wouldn't have featured earlier on.
Really allow me in saying, please stop monkeying around. There's the number 4 Coutinho, the goal scorer. There's also a yellow card replaced by Kong, also known as Yaquin, according to the coaching staff of Atletico Madrid. One of 2 Asian players of Asian descent that is part of the traveling team here. The other one, that being Fabio, an interesting South American name for an Asian lad.
I think you'll have seen quite a bit of flow of players from that part of the world, in Asia for one, and featuring in Europe, and not just average players, bring quite a bit of quality. So I think Kong would have maybe seen his opportunity as well, that as being one that will develop into where he will eventually feature.
There's a man, Kong, who just got on the pitch and already throwing himself about. And good point to raise about the Asians and what they're trying to do with their football. I mean, I look at the like of Song, who plays for the Tottenham Hotspur, a great player indeed, as well as the rise of the Super League in China. So much money that they're throwing around, so good and so irresistible that they got even a one Carlos Tevez to go out of Argentina to come back into competitive football. Well, I'd use the term competitive very loosely, because the Chinese league is not one of the most stronger leagues around the world yet anyway.
But in the way that they're putting in the money, you can see that they want to really make it that exciting in as far as putting the structures right. And obviously drawing such big names like Tevez is to be able to first attract the crowd and create a little bit of attention into the game.
Yeah, I think they're taking their notes from the MLS, the American League. American League quite famed for getting some of the big stars who are perhaps coming to the twilight years of their careers out there, the likes of LA Galaxy and so on. I mean, Oscar, for one, is a guy who's a Brazilian international doing duty out there in the Super League, as well as the likes of Axel Witsel. Clipped in now, looking for that run over Riquelme.
I think you remember that very same approach a long time, quite some time back. The Americans tried to apply it in as far as bringing stars from all around the world. This is where the likes of Kaiser Mutaung from the local scene, of course, Joe Masono, Ace, the late Ace Zolongo, made their way. And they basically were able to feature in some of the great names in world football.
Lyle Foster asking his teammate there, where were you passing, mate? Still the inquest continues. Yeah, you even look at the influx of some of the players outside of Africa as well coming in doing duty. Have you got Brazilian, and for the Brazilians of Mamelodi, we've got a Colombian and Castro as well. And we're getting them from all parts of the world. Celedado looking to wrap his foot around there, but the angle was always against him.
Once again, Kleza's showing us that he comes from a very good development. Again, a ball that maybe another keeper would have preferred to dive, but shuffling across just to make sure that he's got his body in line with the roll of the ball.
Now they move it on to the man from Atleti, to Riquelme. Riquelme gives it to his teammate, and they nearly made it count. That was a substitute. Fernando Medrano, the man who joined Atleti in 2007, nearly made it a third, and with that perhaps the third nail in the coffin to the Orlando Pirates side, and up in smoke almost it went to their chance of qualification into the semis.
Football made easy is all I can say. Runs into spaces, precise passes being played into those areas. No pressure. Like I say, just about every time they seem to have a spare second on the ball, more than the Orlando Pirates players would have had.
Allow me to be a bit poetic. Simplicity does have its complexities as well. Now they look to maneuver it and maneuver this Atleti defense, a well-organized Atleti defense around Sumiso Bopela, had straight offside on that one. I think they need to be getting him more into the game. De La Moreno about to bring on the man I referenced earlier, the second of the Asian players, Fabio. He's about to bring on De La Moreno, not scared to use his subs. Yesterday in the game against Mamelodi Sundowns as well, a quick flurry of subs in and around the last 10 minutes, about 4 or 5 subs at one go. A commentary nightmare, absolutely. Under Fabio, who played as a striker yesterday, if he's not about to come on for that man, as in shot now Alberto Salido. He thought he had won his team a throw-in.
You, me, is the player that is about to.
You, me, aka Fabio. You've got Kong. So who's Yuquin?
Here's the thing, I think as difficult as it might be to keep up with some of these names, but let me tell you, we can't help but have a little bit of fun. Some of them are very difficult to pronounce, like you say, but you, me? Is the player that is about to come in, number 19.
There is Yumi, aka Fabio, and indeed he is about to replace Alberto Salido. It's a bit of quite encouragement from one of the technical staff. Alberto Salido can trudge off a man proud of his efforts. He's ran around well, and he's provided attacking impetus, and didn't have a goal to show for his efforts, but you know what, he's been a threat throughout the 55 minutes he's been on the pitch.
Yumi, of course, is one of those that would have come from Asia, and I guess there's quite an influx of those players proving that they got the quality. You don't just get accepted into those kind of development programs if you don't have what it takes to really mix it up with them.
That's so true. If you're gonna make it at Atleti, you need to be one hell of a player. If you're in and around the structures, I mentioned how famed, how well-renowned other youth structures producing the likes of Torres, the likes of David De Gea. Something that I've yet to reference in this tournament as the Pirates hit back through Lekete. Man who's come on, perhaps they're looking to use his freshness, is Atleti's ability to find world-class strikers. Year after year after year, they just keep doing it. They just keep rolling them out. The likes of Torres.
That's the man.
That's the man. There he is.
You mean? And also, look at the jerseys of red and white, who are quick to get into those defensive situations immediately. That for me basically shows that even at this stage of the game, they still got the legs to be able to cover the distance or the length of the field.
In the meantime, Sekampu, Dumi Sekampu, the man who's about to come on for Malela Django. Another wing back being hauled off really. First it was Mufokeng, now Django. Who they playing in terms of the full-back position? What sort of formation are Pirates are playing with? Are they even playing with a formation? Because it seems like they're just throwing all the attackers on, throwing on the kitchen sink at this Atleti team. The man who just came on, Sekampu, twisting and turning, but time is running out for Orlando Pirates' under-17 team, the reigning Gauteng Cup champions. Gonna possibly miss out on qualifying for the semis of the future champs Gauteng 2017 tournament. Now they're looking to get Rodrigo Riquelme in. Wally Chleza live and alert to the chance. A great feed from Adrian Ferreras. Now Bupela. They left it behind the Pirates to the anguish of Bupela, who had made a run expecting the ball back. Now skipper Rodrigo Riquelme, I think he's starting to tire a bit. His quality not the same on the ball. As Sukumpa closes him down. Sukumpa would not want to be in these kind of positions, lose position. This near sign to us in the last few minutes. As both teams, I think, wanting a defining goal for two different reasons. Atleti looking to find that two-goal cushion, while Pirates just wanting to get back into it. And after 5 minutes, so Atleti starving possession from Orlando Pirates. Managers came on, Yaguin hits the deck, seems to have caught a flailing arm from somebody. Pero Morena not happy about something, shouting out orders, barking out orders to some of his players or an official, not quite sure there. You see that there was a collision of heads. As the managers came on, Fabio took a knock to the head. Still on the floor.
And obviously this work in their favor. They'll like to get this game to a walking pace, basically. So disruptive that they know that they've got the goals that met in their favor. So the less Pirates have of the ball, more frustrating.
It's confirmation of the yellow from Lyle Foster. I think he's starting to get a bit hot under the collar. He's not getting the chances that he'd be hoping to get. As I said, he'll be itching to get a goal, almost did, but the underside of the crossbar denied him. Almost got his third of the tournament. And he scored a brace against University of Pretoria yesterday. Was quite good, value for money in his efforts. Now 4 minutes of referee's optional time at it. I think Atleti were just looking to be managed the rest of the remaining 3 minutes, not allowing Pirates to throw the kitchen sink at them. I mean, look at that. Rodrigo Riquelme being told by referee Makrobo to get back as they clip it into Lyle Foster's chest. But Atleti shut the door, right smack back in Orlando Pirates' face.
The ref not stepping his authority. I mean, if you're going to try and slow the game in that fashion, it's a bookable offense. And if you don't step up as a ref and make sure that doesn't happen, it'll continue. Pirates will be needing every second of the remaining 3 minutes.
Yeah, and most of the refereeing has been quite top notch, should I say, in this competition. But we have seen some questionable decisions in match day 16, or rather match day 3, match 14, 15 and 16. Some dubious decisions, if I can call it that. Remember Brent Hansen, and in the game I did earlier, dishing out a red card. Dubious, I'll say. Big Mo still will disagree with me. I think tomorrow and next week will still be disagreeing with me.
Here's the thing. I think for me it was refreshing to see a red at least. It's been too nice. It's nice for this players to know that there is a red card in this game. They must get accustomed that it will come, it will happen going forward.
To use play on words, you and me are disagreeing on that one.
You, me is having a go for himself in the field of play. I guess you and me are allowed to have a go at one another as well.
It's competitive, not only on the pitch but also in the commentary box, I tell you. Now 2 minutes remaining already, a few seconds into one of those 2 minutes as they look to clip it in and just perhaps go to the corner and eke out a few more seconds. Now the fans here, that's Nike Center, Soweto, been treated to the fest of football, feast of goals as well. Great as well knowledge into the insights as to what the rest of the world is also doing in terms of their football structures. Now Atleti, few moments away from making their second semi-final in 2 years. And well on the way to defend their trophy. Now that man, Rodrigo Riquelme, has ran his socks into the ground. Able to eke out a few more seconds as Atletico Madrid's a few skipper for today.
Talking about Riquelme, doesn't it remind you of one Argentinian star in the middle of the park?
Juan Roman Riquelme, yeah. We spoke about him yesterday. What a great player he was in his heyday. Never blessed with too much pace or physical attributes, but his football brain.
Oh,
goodness.
yes.
I wonder if he's into coaching now, because he seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. I'm sure he's involved in Argentinian football structure somewhere, along the likes of Boca Juniors or River Plate.
Four minutes have come and gone. We are at the mercy of the referee right now. See if Orlando Pirates could steal it right at the dead.
Now, Lau Foster left her clutching his face because perhaps he knew there was a chance gonna beg, and they don't have long to go. They need to manufacture something, and it has to be of quality. That's not how you do it. And with that, Orlando Pirates are pillaged. Athletic Madrid with a professional performance. Lau Foster left a frustrated figure. Still having words with the referee is Lau Foster. The Pirates players have themselves to blame. They had 60 minutes to put it together. But in the end, the likes of Jose Saldano came in to replace Nacho. Had a good goal. Yaquin came off the bench to solidify the lead and ensure that they won, which they did. Alberto Salido, my man of the match, has ran himself to the ground as well, provided attacking impetus without rewarding himself with a goal. Nice little touch from the youngsters from Madrid. A bit of culture sharing between the players and the fans here. It's football, it's a uniting sport, is it? Confirmation of your score. The march is on for the defending champions, the sea of the current champions of the Gauteng Cup, 2-1. And these are the highlights of the goals. Started off Riquelme with a neat head flick. Igor Rojo with a cross. Come shot. Hit the back of the net. El Moreno left. A happy man. I think Buhali Kheza, when he looks back at this game, you think to himself, what else did I need to do to ensure that we get the win out? You'll see exactly why in the highlights to continue. The man Godinho got in the way of his goalkeeper Jose Saldana, and like a thief in the night, Simo Bopela came in and snuck in a first for Pirates to get them back in, and at this stage you thought, and now come back, they had set their sails, and the Pirates of Orlando would be looking to pillage. Atletico Madrid wasn't to be, though. Cesar, as I spoke a bit earlier, that was able to get strong hands to some of the shots directed his way, but it's difficult when your defenders let you down. No one marking. Coutinho, look at that, had the freedom of Nike Center to tap it in whichever way he wanted. In the end, he decided to just throw a right leg at it. That's a defender's finish if I ever seen one. On the balance of play, Atleti will feel they deserved it. More possession. As a result, it's not about just having possession, it's what you do with it. They created more. On the left-hand side, it was quite prolific through the hard running of Rodrigo Riquelme. Alberto Silido as well provided a great foil. Centrally, they were able to control through Goose.
Thank you very much to our voices of SS Football. What a pulsating fixture this was. Of course, Atletico Madrid making sure that they book that spot in the semi-final. Now joining me, we have Atletico Madrid coach Armando de la Morena. Coach, just let us know, you made 6 changes coming into this encounter, and they paid dividends with the first goal coming from Igoro, which was one of the changes that you made.
¿Cómo han influido los cambios en el partido?
Es importante porque el torneo es bastante duro para los chicos por el calor que hace y por lo duro que son los partidos y los rivales. Todos son muy necesarios.
It's very important to change, to not to change the players because it's too hot and it's important to refresh the team.
Now, going into the semi-finals, it's a repeat of our last year's final meeting Bidvest Vitz. Of course, you were victorious in that one. How do you see this one faring out?
Volvemos a semifinales, repetimos la final del año pasado. ¿Cómo nos sentimos otra vez ese enfrentamiento?
Bueno, estamos muy contentos de clasificarnos para semifinales. Sabemos que va a ser muy duro también, como el año pasado fue la final, y esperemos volver a estar este año en la final también.
We are very happy to classify to semi-final, and the tournament is really hard. This match again will be very hard, and we hope to stay again in the final.
Thank you very much. Gracias muchas.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that was the victorious coach, Coach Armando de la Morena, just saying about the pulsating fixtures that will be, of course, in the semi-final. Now, I will be joined by the Orlando Pirates coach, Coach Philani Kubeka, of course, who was on the losing end. Coach, your starting 11 remained unchanged coming into this encounter. It was a very physical one. They were very fast on the ball. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think we had a good game, but just that I'm not happy. The way we considered goals. Check the first goal. It was not a good goal. And again, second goal, we considered on the set pieces. I think the boys did very well, but you know, the luck was not on our side.
Coach, and then from here, how do you motivate them going into the next game, because you are out of the title race?
Yeah, for them they did very well. It's only to lift their head up and then let's see the next game.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was Coach Phumlani Kubeka just saying that, of course, the boys did well. It was a very enthralling encounter here against Atletico Madrid going up against Orlando Pirates. Of course, Atletico Madrid, they are the reigning champions. But coming up is another tantalizing fixture. Mamelodi Sundowns will be playing Club Brugge. It is a very important one because the winner will get that place in this next semi-final.
Scotch. 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 Scotch.